The story begins in a fancy place, all lit up with lanterns under the moonlight. Inside a room, a young man is asleep at a table while a mysterious woman keeps an eye on him. Suddenly, he wakes up all confused, not knowing where he is or what's going on. Jumping forward in time, we see he was an ordinary worker reading a novel on the bus. The novel he was reading had a very tragic ending, with the protagonist losing badly to the villain. Upset with the story's ending, the reader gets furious and throws his phone on the bus floor. As soon as it hits the floor, the device starts to glow with a mysterious purple light. This light completely surrounds the guy, who has absolutely no idea what's happening. In that moment, he's transported into the body of the protagonist from the novel he was reading. A cute little bird appears and introduces itself as an AI system. The guy is immediately convinced because he just received that famous system that helps protagonists. He realizes the story has changed because instead of a pretty girl, he got a rooster. The system informs him that there are cards and treasures for him, and the young man already feels invincible. He remembers that the character gets married right at the beginning of the novel and decides to seize the opportunity. The guy then leaps toward the bride, all excited for their wedding night. Without a second thought, he grabs the red veil to reveal his wife's face. But upon lifting the veil, the young man is completely shocked by what he finds underneath. The woman actually has white hair and calls him a prodigal husband in a very annoyed way. The young man panics and says it was a misunderstanding, realizing he isn't this person, Ling Lai. Looking around, he wonders why he was tricked and what's really going on. Then it hits him he's not the protagonist, but a total nobody named Mo Yaling. That woman in front of him is Xie Ling, the main antagonist of the novel who became an empress. With a smile on her face, she approaches the young man and calls him husband in a seductive way. The villainess then offers him a drink, saying it's getting late. The young man knows there's something in that drink, and that she's going to hurt him afterward anyway. Desperate, he remembers she's going to drain all his yin energy until he can't take it anymore. But suddenly the system appears, showing the villainess his information and a new mission. He decides to use a swap card to switch his drink with the evil girls. A blue light appears and the card quickly swaps the contents of the two cups. The little bird confirms the swap was successful and now his drink is safe. Without hesitation, the guy downs the drink in one go to show he's confident in the situation. He then compliments the wine and offers the other cup to the woman, so she can drink it too. The villainess stares at him with a suspicious smile, but it seems like she's going to accept the drink. She drinks the liquid while the young man thinks his plan worked perfectly. Suddenly, the woman starts to feel extremely hot and turns completely red. She realizes she drank the wrong cup and that it was all the young man's fault. Furious, the villainess storms out of the room, slamming the door with tremendous force. She goes to a bathroom and jumps into the water to try to cool down from the heat. Inside the tub, she swears she'll get her revenge on the guy as soon as the effect wears off. But she's surprised because the potion's effect is much stronger than she imagined. He enters the bathroom and is stunned by the beauty of the woman in the tub. With a superior attitude, the guy says they need to establish some rules from now on. But the girl in the water beckons him closer with a very inviting look. The young man thinks she can't resist him and will agree to anything he says. She then tells him to stop being so full of himself and surprises him with her attitude. Without any warning, the villainess grabs him tightly and throws him into the tub with her. Falling into the water, he remembers she's the main villain and doesn't play by the rules. Underwater, the two of them face each other, and he realizes the fight is about to begin. He's surprised by the softness of her body and thinks this will be his first time. The white-haired girl kisses him and is shocked by his strong yin energy. She feels his energy entering her body and finds the sensation wonderful. A pink light surrounds her, and she levels up while the guy's hair changes color. The system announces that the mission is complete, but her affection only increased by 1 point. With her hair now pink, the villainess thinks she needs to tell the queen about this. Meanwhile, a green-haired servant spies on everything from a distance, with a terrified look on her face. Later that night, the scene shifts to the emperor's grand palace. The servant tells a woman that the sixth prince has a body of pure yin. This woman listening to the report is the queen of the Muyan dynasty, Murong Minji. The queen reflects that she didn't expect this from a nobody and that the Ji clan got the better deal. She decides that even though he's not a threat, it's better to get rid of him once and for all. The queen then orders the news about the sixth prince to be spread throughout the court the next day. The servant kneels and agrees to follow Her Majesty's orders without question. Early the next morning, the scene shifts to a beautiful palace with the sun shining brightly. The guy wakes up in bed and realizes it's already morning and he's with the villainess. A note explains that in the original story, the main character's legs were injured. Relieved, he notices his legs are perfectly fine and that he narrowly escaped danger. He decides his top priority now is to increase Jialing's affinity for him. As he thinks, we see the pink-haired girl sleeping peacefully beside him. Walking down the street, he complains that her affinity is rising too slowly. The system then shows that her affinity for him is still very low and in the negatives. He thinks that over the past few days, he has gotten a better understanding of the system and its items. As he walks, the system's bird floats beside him with the information screen. Many items are locked, and he deduces it's because he hasn't completed the tasks. The girl calls him husband and finds him mysterious for not sensing any power coming from him. He responds confidently and thinks about how impressive her presence is. Suddenly, another couple appears in front of them and blocks their path. The man is the second prince, Mu Yu, and he apologizes for not attending the wedding. The protagonist replies that it was no big deal, and he doesn't need to worry about it. Mu Yu then comments on the nasty rumors he's heard about his wife. The girl gets furious at the comment and swears she'll end that man's life. With the provocation, the girl's anger level rises from 30 to 35%. The guy notices her darkness value has increased and fears she might attack the prince. To calm the situation, he holds his brother's wrist and apologizes for the offense. He then warns him that his wife is not there to be judged by him. Turning his back, the young man takes her hand and says they have important things to do. The second prince is confused and thinks his brother seems like a different person now. Feeling full of himself, he asks if he impressed her and goes to check the affinity level. The system screen shows the affinity is still negative, and he gets very disappointed. With a mischievous look, he wonders if he needs to do that thing to raise her affection. Walking hand in hand, he feels like people are looking at him in a strange way. Elsewhere, a pink-haired girl named Manhwa presents a gift to the queen. The queen calls her closer and says she wants to see the progress of her skills. The girl then asks if the rumor about the sixth prince having a Purian physique is true. The empress laughs and confirms it's true, saying she's the fifth person to ask. The niece explains that she needs his help to advance and only wants to be a concubine. At that moment, the couple arrives at the palace, and the guy was already expecting a situation like this. He remembers that in the original work, the empress stripped Jiling of her title as the legitimate wife. On top of that, the queen also humiliated her in a very cruel way in front of everyone. But things are different now because he's not a nobody, and he entered the palace with her. Determined, he decides he'll use this chance to raise her affection and save himself. He notices the pink-haired girl's gaze and gets the feeling she wants to devour him. In front of everyone, the queen asks Jiling if she's feeling uncomfortable in the palace. The white-haired girl is confused by the question and doesn't understand what the empress means. The queen then insults her, saying she isn't from a pure tribe, but just a half-breed. With the insult, her anger level rises, and the guy becomes desperate about the tense situation. He defends her, saying his wife is fine and that the empress doesn't need to worry about her. The girl is surprised by his attitude, and her affinity increases by 5 positive points. The empress is furious at the audacity of a disgraced royal concubine's son. Without further ado, the queen says she wants them to separate because Manhwa is more suitable. Jiling refuses on the spot and threatens to end the guy if he agrees to the divorce. The queen ignores the threat and orders the prince to divorce his wife immediately. The pink-haired girl says she accepts being a concubine and that he will receive many rewards for it. She then suggests a fair competition between the two of them in various womanly arts and talents. The empress thinks a competition is a great and legitimate way to solve the problem. With a smile on her face, she believes the wild girl will be eliminated right at the start. She then agrees to the contest and warns that if Jiling loses, she loses her position as wife. The guy decides he's going to use his almost invincible system to help his wife win. He gets closer and whispers for her to accept the challenge because he has a way to help her. The girl looks at him suspiciously and wonders what her husband's true intentions are. Time flies and the day of the great competition finally arrives. In the competition hall, the two girls prepare for the challenge while the judge watches. The white-haired girl suspiciously asks what her husband's brilliant plan is. He replies with a confident smile for her to just follow his instructions and everything will be fine. The judge announces that the test is embroidery and will last for 2 hours with a freestyle theme at the end. The materials are given to both of them, and the competition finally begins for real. With great skill, the pink-haired girl starts to embroider, looking very confident. Meanwhile, his wife just stares at the fabric and wonders if he wants her to lose. Seeing the situation, the guy pulls out a card from the system and says it's time to act. The flower embroidery card glows, and its power goes toward the girl's work. Meanwhile, the sand in the hourglass continues to fall, marking the passage of time. When time is up, the judge asks both of them to present their embroidery. First, she shows the pink-haired girl's lotus embroidery and praises the work. Then, the lady turns to finally evaluate the other competitor's work. The queen thinks her niece has already won because the other is just a wild girl. But upon unrolling the scroll, the judge is completely shocked by what she sees. She is impressed by the magnificent landscape while the guy celebrates the plan's success. However, she notices some small creatures in the forest that she has never seen in her life. With a know-it-all attitude, the guy explains that it's called abstract art. Convinced, the lady admits her ignorance and declares the sixth princess as the winner. With the unexpected result, the queen is furious and can't believe what she just heard. The pink-haired girl vows to defeat her next time, while the other wonders how she won. The queen announces the second round of the competition and says the girl's luck has just run out. With a veil over her face, the white-haired girl prepares for the dance competition. She begins to dance with great grace, and the guy realizes she could win on her own. With sparkling eyes, he holds a dance card, all excited about the performance. In comparison, the other girl's dance looks more like a folk dance and is less impressive. With a confident smile, the protagonist is already sure who will take the victory. After the performances, the result will be decided by a vote from everyone present. The guy is shocked and can't believe what he's seeing when the votes are revealed. All the judges show their scrolls with Manhwa's name written on them. The white-haired girl is also surprised and confused by the vote's outcome. The queen brags about having chosen all the judges and secured her niece's victory. Annoyed, the guy promises he'll show the old woman what it's like to really win. He hands a mysterious ring to his wife and says she'll need it in the next round. She puts on the ring and is surprised that she can't even identify the object's level. For the third and final round, the two prepare for a martial arts competition. The pink-haired girl charges forward without a second thought, heading toward her opponent. The two swords clash with force, and the battle finally begins for real. The white-haired girl manages to defend against the attacks despite being at a lower level. With an impressed look, she feels the force of the attack and realizes the fight will be tough. The pink-haired girl prepares a powerful spinning attack with her sword. Tired, the girl admits her opponent's strength and thinks that she can't lose this fight. With a battle cry, the queen's niece uses a powerful skill with her sword. The ring's magic shield protects the white-haired girl and reflects the attack. The pink-haired girl is completely shocked and doesn't understand what just happened. Holding her sword, the guy's wife prepares for her next move in the fight. The queen and the other nobles are surprised and wonder if that's a protective treasure. A pink energy starts to gather around the girl, who is also surprised. She then launches a powerful energy attack toward her adversary. The attack hits the girl head-on and throws her back with great force. The white-haired girl feels that the uncomfortable energy is about to consume her. Determined to win, she uses all her strength to control the pink energy and end the fight. The queen's niece is terrified by the frightening aura coming from her opponent. Suddenly, the protagonist appears and catches her before the energy gets out of control. He hits her with a quick strike and leaves her unconscious in his arms. With her hand on the back of her neck, the girl looks at him, annoyed for being knocked out by him. With a victorious smile, he says this is the perfect solution for the situation. Everyone is shocked by the sixth prince's strength and wonders if the queen deceived them. In the end, he declares that she won and carries her in his arms protectively. Tired and defeated, the queen tells everyone to leave and ends the competition. The queen is surprised by the strength of the prince, who had always been so low-key in the palace. Defeated, the queen's niece decides she needs to find another way to get what she wants. Back in the room, the girl asks what happened in the fight and where the ring came from. He makes up an excuse and says the only thing he wants is to have her by his side always. With a seductive smile, he hugs her and asks why she doubts him so much. Embarrassed, she tells him to stop being so full of himself and moves away a little. Her affinity level rises a little more, and the guy celebrates the progress. A system screen shows that his cultivation level has also increased to the first realm. He realizes that raising her affinity also improves his cultivation and decides to focus on that. The girl says she's going to take a bath, and the guy agrees with a simple okay. Alone, he asks the system about the true origin of that mysterious ring. The little bird explains that the ring is a spiritual treasure that belonged to an ancient demon. While taking a bath, the girl feels a strange presence in her mind because of the ring. In her sea of consciousness, she comes face to face with a giant fox and feels a familiar aura. She asks what a senior from the Yo clan is doing in her sea of consciousness. The fox explains that it's trapped in the ring and wants to make a deal with the young woman. Half an hour later, the girl gets out of the bath, and the guy is waiting for her in the room. He starts asking about the ring, but she cuts him off before he can continue. She explains that she accidentally became the ring's owner and asks if he minds. Scared, he says he doesn't mind and decides to focus on staying alive for now. With a seductive smile, she invites him to join her in a shared dream. Embarrassed but not refusing, the guy accepts his wife's invitation to the dream. She thinks about the deal she made with the demon fox to obtain its cultivation technique. With a provocative look, she warns him to hold on tight and not give in easily. He challenges her and says he'll show her all his strength that night. The scene shifts to the night sky and time passes quickly to the next day. Exhausted, he thinks he was almost drained to the last drop of energy. He senses a strange presence and uses a causality card to investigate the situation. Black smoke spreads, and he realizes the queen is up to something again. He recognizes the person as Yun Yao, a servant of the queen with mystical abilities. A mysterious woman appears in the room with a sphere of blue energy in her hand. A secret mission appears to raise Yun Yao's affinity to 50. He complains about the difficult mission, but the rewards are too good to ignore. Determined, he decides he's going to face the challenge and try his luck with the new mission. He kicks open the door of the room where the woman is hiding to surprise her. Light floods the room and the door swings open, revealing the queen's servant inside. The woman gets startled by the sudden entrance and screams, asking who's there. With a seductive air, he asks what she's doing in his room so early. The woman gets annoyed and glares at him with contempt, making it clear she's not easy to deal with. He remembers some books he read on how to win over women and feels more confident. He asks what a queen's servant is doing in his residence so early. With his hand on her shoulder, he makes up a story that he was forced to marry Jai Ling. He then compliments the woman, saying she seems much more reasonable than his wife. The servant pushes him away, but he continues with the compliments and suggests she become his wife. He promises to demote the other one and make her the princess, and the woman is shocked by the proposal. With the guy's smooth talk, her affinity rises to 80, and she gets all flustered. The mission is a success and the system gives the protagonist great rewards. But suddenly his wife appears at the door and catches the two of them together in the room. The servant smirks and tells the white-haired girl to ask the prince what's going on. He switches sides immediately and accuses the woman of having malicious thoughts about them. The servant is furious when she realizes she was completely tricked by the guy. Filled with hatred, she prepares to attack the couple with all her mystical power. The guy hides behind his wife and asks for protection because his power is recharging. The girl draws her sword, and he feels safe because he knows she's much stronger. The fight begins, and his wife easily defends against the servant's attack. The woman screams in pain as she's hit head-on by the powerful counterattack. The winner threatens to use the servant's energy to increase her own cultivation. The guy stops her and says that attacking one of the queen's servants will cause a lot of trouble. The woman lies defeated on the floor, while the couple stares at her, doing nothing. But she gets up with a weapon and says she'll show them her true abilities. The guy is shocked to see the servant summon an evil spirit to fight. The summoned ghost has fox ears and red eyes glowing with malice. His wife is surprised because the spirit has a very high cultivation level. The servant orders the ghost to finish off the white-haired girl without mercy. Desperate, the guy yells for his wife to watch out for the powerful attack. The girl is caught by surprise and feels powerless to counter the blow. The servant boasts about her victory and says she'll turn her opponent into a servant. Seeing the situation, the guy decides to use a card to increase his wife's strength. The cultivation card glows and temporarily boosts the white-haired girl's strength. A pink light surrounds her, and everyone is surprised by the sudden power increase. She feels the spiritual energy concentrating in her and entering the golden core realm. The spirit attacks, but the girl is now much stronger and ready to fight back. With a confident smile, she prepares to show off her new power in the battle. She defeats both opponents, and now they are no match for her. The winner grabs the servant by her hair and lifts her off the ground with ease. A ring on the white-haired girl's finger glows with a mysterious light. With a wicked smile, she uses the ring's power to absorb the servant's energy. The guy is impressed with the ghost clan's unique ability to absorb energy. She warns that if the servant tells the queen anything, she will end her life. Defeated and powerless, the woman promises not to tell anyone about what happened there. With a cold look, she tells the defeated servant to get out of her room immediately. Frightened, the woman runs out of the room to save her life as quickly as she can. The fox spirit is still there, and the guy thinks about what to do with her now. He uses a card and realizes her connection to the servant has been severed forever. The ghost then gains a physical body with blonde hair and fox ears. Surprised, she looks at her new body and feels memories from when she was alive. The guy explains he used a secret technique to give her a body and names her Tonger. Grateful, the fox swears eternal loyalty to her new master and promises to serve him. She is impressed by his power and decides she will follow him with all her heart. He introduces her to his wife and says she can help with her cultivation training. The white-haired girl suspects that he used a spiritual treasure for all of this. Her affinity increases, and embarrassed, she thanks him for his help in the battle. He's happy with the affinity increase and thanks the queen for her indirect help. Elsewhere, we see the leader of the Chinju sect, Linjin Master Monian. He summons his disciple, Ling Li, to be the mentor for the princes at the palace. The disciple accepts the mission, and thus, the original protagonist of the novel finally appears. Since the last fight, the guy's life has become much quieter and calmer in the palace. The only one still bothering him is Hoa, who won't give up trying to win him over. The system shows new missions, and he realizes the focus is on increasing Jiling's affinity. Suddenly, a guard comes running and yells that the sixth prince needs help. The guard explains that the princess hit the prime minister's daughter with gold coins. Shocked, the guy asks why his wife would do something like that to the girl. The man says he doesn't know the details, but that she's being held at the Guanjin garden. He orders the horses to be prepared and thinks the secret mission makes sense now. Meanwhile, in the garden, a group of people is arguing about the fight that just happened. The prime minister's daughter cries and asks the second prince to get justice for her. The man suggests she apologize to resolve the issue peacefully, but the girl refuses and says the other one also stole her spiritual pearl. A girl defends the princess and says she just found the pearl in the grass. The young woman continues to defend her friend and says the other one is lying about everything. The white-haired girl explains the slap was to teach the other one how to behave. The second prince gets furious at her audacity and calls her by her name. He insults her, saying she's nothing but a nobody and the wife of a weak cultivator. With a wicked smile, the white-haired girl summons a spirit for battle. But before the fight can begin, the sixth prince arrives at the garden to resolve the situation. A little girl runs up to him and hugs him, calling him cousin and asking for help. He remembers the girl is his niece and an important ally of the antagonist in the novel. His wife's darkness level increases drastically, and he despairs over the situation. He decides the priority now is to calm his wife down before things get worse. With a gentle look, he calls out to his wife and tries to get her attention. In a calm tone, he beckons her closer with a very inviting hand gesture. Surprised, she asks how he got there so quickly to help with the mess. He hugs her and says he couldn't let his wife be mistreated by other people. The second prince caused to interrupt the couple's romantic moment. With a look of contempt, he criticizes his younger brother's lack of manners. The guy insults him back, leaving the prince furious with the comparison. Another man appears and greets the sixth prince in a very friendly way. The protagonist recognizes the two as Chu Yang and Chu Zhenjun, the villains from the novel. He remembers that in the original work, they mistreated him a lot when he was a child. The emperor didn't care about him for being a nobody and let him get bullied. The dark-haired girl also looked down on him for being weak and having no future in the palace. He realizes that if it weren't for the Bai family, he would have met a tragic end. With an air of superiority, he asks who dared to mistreat his dear wife. The prime minister's daughter confronts him and asks who he's cussing out. With a mocking smile, he says he's cussing out whoever answered his question. The girl brags about her grandfather's power and demands that he resolve the situation. He accuses her of speaking without proof and says his wife doesn't care about the pearl. With a snap of his fingers, he summons his fox servant and a giant spirit. The fox prepares to attack on her master's command with a lot of energy. The prime minister's daughter is terrified and yells the guy's name in anger. The girl tries to stand her ground, but a hand comes out of a portal and attacks her. She screams in pain as she gets slapped hard across the face and falls to the ground. With her eyes rolling back, the girl faints and her spirit leaves her body for a moment. The villain draws his sword and charges furiously toward the sixth prince. With his sword technique, he prepares a powerful attack to finish the guy off. He launches the attack with all his strength and yells for the prince to drop. But the fox servant appears in front of him and stops the sword with just 2 fingers. With a look of contempt, she glares at the man and terrifies him with her power. The fox uses a seduction skill to confuse him and tells him to admit defeat. The man feels dizzy and wonders what kind of trick she's using on him. He tries to stand firm, but the fox's ability is too strong for him. The second prince notices the fox's power and wonders if he could defeat her. The servant prepares to end the fight with a purple energy sphere. The second prince interrupts and warns that the fainted girl needs treatment. With a fake smile, he suggests his brother let the other guy go to take his sister. The protagonist agrees to the proposal and accepts, letting the 2 of them leave in peace. With an air of superiority, he suggests his brother accompany them to ensure their safety. The prince gets annoyed at his audacity and glares at him with hatred in his eyes. He helps his friend up and asks if he's okay after the attack. The man realizes his cultivation has been sealed and is shocked by the discovery. He hears a strange noise and is confused about what's happening there. From a distance, a man shouts the 6th prince's name with anger in his eyes. The shout startles everyone, and they look in the direction of the noise, completely confused. The scene shifts to the royal palace, where the commotion will continue shortly. The guy walks through the palace, annoyed with the situation that just occurred. The queen forbids him from leaving his residence and orders him to reflect on his actions. With a look of contempt, the guy glares at the queen's order with great anger. He ignores the order and keeps walking as if nothing happened. Suddenly, he spots a familiar figure and wonders what's going on. He recognizes the man as the protagonist of the novel and questions his presence. The guy thinks that if he can keep him close, he might be able to avoid the tragic ending. But the system shows there are no items that can be used on the original protagonist. He approaches and asks what the famous Ling Li is doing in the palace. The man explains he was summoned to be the second prince's tutor by the king's order. The guy invites him to stay at his house for a few days to rest from the journey. The tutor politely declines the invitation, saying it would be improper to do so. The guy remembers that in the novel, he wasn't well liked and understands the refusal. The man explains he's taken the prince to train and can't be late. Upon hearing about the underworld palace, the guy is shocked by the information. He remembers an important detail from the story and wonders how he could have forgotten. The demon fox teaches a special technique to the white-haired girl. She regrets being deceived by a man and ending up in a bad situation. The guy's wife realizes the key to the technique is dual cultivation with a partner. With a sparkle in her eyes, the fox prepares to begin the special training. The white-haired girl screams as she feels the fox's energy entering her body. The demon realizes the energy is still not enough for its plans. She promises to show the young woman the true pleasure of life with the technique. The girl asks the fox not to touch certain places and gets all embarrassed. With a wicked smile, the demon says it's going to borrow her body. Meanwhile, the guy is thinking about what he's going to eat with his wife for dinner later. He returns to the room all excited and calls for his dear wife. But he sees his wife running towards him with a strange pink aura. With a seductive look, she calls him husband and says he's finally back. The guy realizes something is very wrong and panics about the situation. The girl grabs him and starts to absorb all his yin energy at once. He feels his energy being drained and is terrified by her power. Meanwhile, the woman feels a large amount of energy entering her body. The guy asks if she's the demon fox from the ring and not his real wife. With a provocative smile, she tells him to stop hesitating and enjoy the moment. The white-haired girl draws her sword and prepares for her next move. He watches his wife training and realizes she needs to get rid of the demon. The guy praises the fox servant's training, and she returns the compliment to her master. He remembers Ling Li's power and understands the different cultivation realms. The original protagonist is already near the peak of the nascent soul stage. The underworld palace will open in 5 days, and he prepares for the journey. The location actually the sealed land of the demon tribe and is guarded by a sect. The place is inhabited by demonic beasts, and a great treasure is hidden there. He remembers that in the novel, Ling Li obtained a special item in the palace. With a confident smile, he calls his wife to pack their bags and change history. In the palace, the queen sips tea and reflects on recent events. She thinks the couple won't have a lasting impact and that she lost a pawn. The empress has already assigned the tutor to help the second prince with his plans. She believes the trip to the underworld palace will secure the throne for her son. 5 days later, the palace entrance is finally open to visitors. Two elders complain about the presence of ghost clan descendants in the area. The girl's darkness level increases, and the guy gets annoyed with everyone's sinister tone. He defends his companions and warns the old men not to speak ill of them. The elders look down on him for being the son of a concubine and a useless non-cultivator. With a fake tone, they apologize and warn about the dangers of the palace. He dismisses their concern and says he has his wife to protect him on the journey. Inside the palace, he's surprised by the number of people who have already arrived. The place is filled with guards and cultivators from all over, seeking power. He complains about the price of a bottle of water and thinks they're exploiting people. With the weak spiritual energy, he decides they need to go deeper. He holds his wife's hand and guides her into the depths of the palace. The white-haired girl follows him as he pulls her along in a hurry. They find the second prince and his group meditating to absorb the energy. The prince's tutor says goodbye and says he's going to explore the depths of the palace. The prince gives him permission to go and tells him be careful of the dangers there. Grateful, the tutor bows and departs with his wife for the exploration. In the depths of the palace, the guy's group prepares for the next step. Bored, he realizes there's not much to do and that the world is very dull. He remembers his old life and misses the games he used to play. He decides to take a walk nearby while his wife practices in peace. A new mission to confront the villainous siblings appears, and he sees a good opportunity. The siblings walk through the caves, and the girl asks if they need to go deeper. With a confident smile, the brother says it's natural for them to continue the journey. The girl questions why they aren't with the second prince for more safety. He explains that the prince is too cowardly and won't venture into the depths. The two decide to continue and climb a rock wall to reach the next level. Startled by the sudden presence, the siblings scream and ask who's there. The guy appears with a smile and says he didn't expect to run into them so soon. The brother provokes him and says the place is dangerous for someone who can't cultivate. Annoyed, the guy asks who spread the rumor that he can't cultivate. He knows a safe shortcut, but he knows the siblings are taking the dangerous path. Suddenly, a roar echoes through the cave and startles the group of villains. The girl is terrified by the noise and wonders what's happening. A giant demonic monster appears with a terrifying purple aura. The brother notices the monster's strength and is shocked by its power level. He tries to run, and the protagonist taunts him for not being able to handle the demon. The siblings challenge the guy to fight the monster, since he thinks he's so tough. With a confident smile, he says his cultivation at the golden core stage is enough. He releases a large amount of golden energy and prepares to attack. The golden fire engulfs the monster, defeating it with just one powerful blow. With an air of superiority, he turns to the siblings who are in shock. The villainous duo is speechless and can't believe what they just saw. He thinks his main goal is to humiliate them, not just collect the reward. The brother is shocked to realize the guy wasn't faking it all along. He admits it's impressive that someone with his physique can cultivate. The protagonist warns that there are more monsters nearby, attracted by the commotion of the fight. The siblings are shocked and can't understand how the guy got so strong. With a confident smile, he whistles and prepares for the next step of his plan. The brother remembers that his sister was engaged to the guy and plans to get revenge. The girl remembers he used to like her, but now that he's married, she can use him. With a determined look, she says she'll take care of it and approaches him. She calls him the sixth prince and prepares to use her charm to manipulate him. The young woman praises him for hiding his talents and having such remarkable cultivation. The guy says he prefers the rebellious and untamable version of her from before. She reminds him of their engagement and asks for help getting out of their tough situation. He taunts her and asks who it was that called him a useless prince a few days ago. The guy takes the pills he won as a reward and prepares to use them. He offers him a bag of pills to use as training partners. The women are suspicious of the training method he proposed. His wife decides to trust him once more and prepares for the fight. The fox servant attacks one of the monsters with a quick and powerful blow. The other two also join the battle and bravely face the monsters. The cave fills with lights and sounds of battle as they fight non-stop. After a full day of fighting, his wife asks if there are any pills left. He ignores her and asks her to defeat the last monster that appeared in the cave. The girl apologizes for speaking ill of him and asks him not to hold a grudge. He says he's over her and that they have nothing to do with each other anymore. Annoyed, the girl threatens him and tells him not to test her patience. More monsters appear in the cave and prepare to attack the group of villains. The siblings are terrified by the arrival of more monsters and fear for their lives. The guy laughs and warns them that most of the monsters there are hungry females. He leaps away and leaves the siblings alone to face the fury of the monsters. The villain is terrified to learn about the cave creature's peculiar appetite. The guy says goodbye and has fun watching them in trouble with nowhere to run. The siblings scream for help as they're attacked by the hungry monsters. The system announces the mission was a success and a new rescue task appears. He wonders why the pink-haired girl is so determined to risk her life. He wonders if all women from that era are so obsessed with competition. With the new cultivation card, he dreams of finally having the physique he always wanted. His companions finish their training and are ready for the next stage. In another part of the cave, the pink-haired girl is fighting several monsters. With her blue energy sword, she faces the creatures with great bravery. The guy's wife recognizes the girl and wonders what she's doing there. With a powerful blow, she defeats several monsters at once with her sword. Hiding, the guy watches the fight and recognizes the girl from the previous competition. Tired, the girl wonders why so many monsters are gathered in that place. The shadows of the defeated monsters rise up and prepare to attack again. The creatures charge furiously toward the girl, who is shocked by the scene. She wonders if demonic beasts can be resurrected and becomes terrified. The guy's wife realizes that a demonic scepter is the source of the whole problem. She warns that if they don't destroy the object, they'll be swallowed by the monsters. The pink-haired girl is hit by a monster and thrown far away. Seeing the situation, the guy realizes he needs to act fast to save her. He rescues her in mid-air and holds her in his arms to protect her from danger. Surprised, she calls him the sixth prince and thanks him for his help in the battle. His wife appears and asks what he's doing there with the other girl. With a cold look, she stares at her husband and waits for a good explanation. The demon fox praises her progress and suggests she grab an artifact. The white-haired girl thinks about the second floor and what she might find there. The guy calls his wife and tries to explain the situation as best as he can. She says the energy of the place is insufficient and that they need to go deeper. He takes the opportunity and says he was just wondering how to explain the rescue. With a smile, he says he knows a shortcut to the second floor of the palace. The group follows the guy to the next level, and the two women follow him closely. His wife wonders how he knows the layout of that place so well. A day later, his wife asks the servant if there are any pills left, and the fox girl responds with a loud no. Lying on a rock, the guy tells his wife she can get by without them, and the white-haired girl gets annoyed by his comment. To help his wife, he destroys the demonic scepter with a sword strike, and the object breaks into two pieces from the impact. A great blue light comes out of the broken object and surrounds the whole group, and they feel a huge amount of power coming from the energy. With the energy, the pink-haired girl ascends from the 5th to the 3rd level of cultivation, and she looks very surprised by what just happened. The fox servant also increases her power, going to the 4th level of the golden core, and she is very happy, striking a celebratory pose. His wife also receives the power and ascends to the 1st level of the golden core, and her energy is now much stronger than before. Surprised by the result, she wonders if she really went up 3 levels at once, and the young woman can't believe her new strength. With a smile, the protagonist says it seems they've made a lot of progress, and he is very happy with the result of his foolproof plan. Embarrassed, the pink-haired girl asks if she can continue with them, and she seems to be enjoying the 6th prince's company. The guy points to his wife and says she should ask the real boss, thinking his wife will send her away. The white-haired wife says she doesn't mind, and the guy is shocked by her answer, as he didn't expect her to agree so easily. She says that extra help won't hinder their journey and ignores his opinion, and with a cold look, the young woman turns and moves on. The protagonist thinks they must be tired of fighting monsters, so he decides to use a system item to help them. With the item, he creates a house and says they will rest there for one night, and the guy announces they will head to the 2nd floor the next day. His wife is shocked by the house and asks where he got this treasure, suspecting that he hides many things from her. He makes up an excuse, saying it was a gift his father gave him, and the protagonist tries to play it cool to avoid raising more suspicion. The pink-haired girl clings to him and asks the prince to accept her, and shyly, she insists on becoming his consort. He yells for help, saying the girl is harassing him, and the system announces that the mission was a success and gives him a reward card. Inside the room, the protagonist uses the card and is surrounded by golden flames, and the system informs him that he can now cultivate like the others. With a smile, he celebrates that he finally managed to finish the mission and is now much more powerful than before. He also celebrates that his abilities have advanced and that the feeling of controlling his own body is incredible and very powerful. With a blue aura, he realizes he can now hide his cultivation and that no one will be able to stand against him because of it. But suddenly, the bedroom door opens slowly, and someone enters the room without making any noise to draw attention. It was his wife, and he asks why she isn't resting, as it's already late at night, and she should be in bed sleeping. The girl says she has grown much stronger, and thinks she can become even more powerful with the help of her dear husband. With an alluring look and a blushing face, she tells them they should get started, and the guy is a bit confused by the situation. Without a second thought, she pushes him onto the bed, and the guy yells for her to wait a bit, as he wasn't ready for this. The two stare at each other with surprised expressions, and the white-haired girl seems determined to go through with her plan. The fox servant and the pink-haired girl appear at the door and ask if they can join them in bed too. Shocked, he wonders what they're doing and if they absorbed too many energy pills, but then he thinks that maybe this isn't so bad after all. The 3 girls stare at him with teasing looks, and the guy is left not knowing what to do with all the attention from them. Breaking out in a cold sweat but with a smile on his face, he realizes they've all come to his room and that it's going to be a very long night. The pink-haired girl says it's no big deal and that it's their wish to be there with the 6th prince that night. Completely surrounded, he asks why they are in such a hurry, and the guy seems a little desperate about the situation. The next morning, he is completely exhausted in bed while the girls seem fine, and he wonders why he is so tired. His wife says it's time to go to the 2nd floor because she needs to get a magical weapon that is hidden there. The guy is surprised and asks why he didn't know about this weapon, thinking it must be a treasure like her ring. With a smile, he gets up and says he will show them the way to the second floor, and his wife seems satisfied with his answer. The group then arrives in front of a bright blue portal, and the guy says the entrance to the second floor is right there. Upon entering the portal, the guy is surprised by what he sees and wonders what kind of place this is. They arrive at a giant cliff, and the group observes the landscape of the second floor, which is covered in a mysterious fog. The group then starts walking along a narrow path, and the fog around them gets thicker and stranger. His wife asks what's wrong with the fog, and he tells her not to worry because the magical weapon is more important. Suddenly, a bunny girl appears, and the protagonist gets all flustered, thinking it's just an illusion. A system screen then appears, warning him that he is under the effect of a hallucination and needs to be careful. With a nosebleed, he tells his wife not to mind him and to keep walking while he enjoys the view. The three girls look at him, completely confused and annoyed by his strange and clueless behavior. They finally arrive at a large platform, and in the center, find some people who were already waiting for them. The white-haired woman explains that those are her former followers and that she needs to defeat them to get the weapon. The followers warn them to leave, or they will be forced to attack the intruders without mercy. Meanwhile, in another part of the cave, the original protagonist is also exploring the area with his own group. A man with an arrogant smile greets the original protagonist, calling him brother in a very friendly way. The mentor greets him back and says he was a little delayed on his way to get there. The man explains that he needs to reach the third floor to receive an ancestral inheritance that is hidden there. He says it's too dangerous to go alone, so he brought his brothers to ensure everything goes smoothly on the journey. His companions say they only care about his well-being and are not interested in the inheritance he will receive. The woman accompanying the original protagonist seems attracted to him and gives a small laugh with an alluring look. Back on the first floor, the villainous siblings are desperately fleeing from the monsters that are still chasing them through the cave. Desperate and injured, he yells for his sister to stop and wait for him, because he can no longer keep up with her pace. The girl tells her brother to hang in there and keep going, as they are almost at their destination. Suddenly, they run into the second prince and his guards, who ask who is there. The second prince stares at them with a serious expression and raises his hand to stop them from getting any closer. With a smile, the girl greets him and seems very relieved to have finally found some help. But suddenly, she stumbles and falls forward, unable to keep her balance because of her injuries. The young woman then falls into the arms of the second prince, who quickly catches her with a surprised look on his face. The prince then asks if they are the siblings Chu Yang and Chu Zhenjin, and he seems confused by the situation. Her brother falls to the ground screaming in pain, and it seems he has finally reached his limit. The prince asks what happened to them and why they are so injured, saying that the place is dangerous. Lying on the ground, the young man says it's their fault for provoking the six princes' anger in the cave. He remembers the protagonist's smile and thinks his bright future is over because of that guy. Angrily, he decides he will put all the blame on the protagonist to get revenge for the humiliation. He then lies and tells the second prince that they were just cultivating peacefully in the cave. The villain continues his lie and accuses the sixth prince of intentionally sending the monsters after them. The girl also lies and asks for help, saying her brother's lower body isn't working like it used to. In complete shock, the young man realizes his lower body is useless and he falls into total despair. The second prince becomes furious and wonders how the sixth prince managed to get there. He tells them not to worry because he will take care of everything and sends someone to call a doctor for the siblings. With a blue aura, he vows revenge and says he will report his brother to the emperor as soon as they get out. The scene then cuts to the protagonist girls, who are ready for the next stage of the journey. The fight against the followers begins, and the pink-haired girl screams in pain after being caught off guard by an attack. She is tied up and hung upside down, and the young woman becomes completely desperate about the situation. The guy realizes that at their current level, they're no match for their opponents, who easily trap them in the air. Suddenly, his wife starts to float with a pink aura, and she finally gets the magical weapon she wanted so much. The weapon is a golden tiara that increases the user speed and purification level in combat. The fox spirit says she can use the power, but first, she needs more yin energy for her plans. With a wicked look, his wife asks for yin energy, and the guy is startled by her sudden change. He wonders why she has a strange aura and realizes that he is the main source of yin energy she needs. After the young woman got the weapon, the group continue their journey through the second floor of the underground palace. They walk through a dark cave, and the girls follow the protagonist with serious expressions on their faces. Suddenly, the guy notices something moving and warns everyone to be on alert for danger. From the cave ceiling, a huge swarm of demonic bats appears, and they prepare to attack the group. The protagonist notices that the demons on the second floor are stronger and sees this as a chance to test his power. He then tells the girls to take care of the smaller bats because he will face the biggest threat alone. With a confident smile on his face, he seems excited to finally test his new cultivation skills. A giant monster with bat wings and horns appears in front of him with a frightening purple aura. Surrounded by blue lightning, he says they will see who is the strongest in the battle that is about to begin. The monster launches a powerful attack, and the guy realizes the enemy's energy is extremely high and dangerous. Determined to fight, he prepares to counterattack and show all his power to the demonic creature. He then charges forward to attack, saying he'll see if he can give it his all to win this great battle. He attacks the monster with his blue energy, and the two powers clash with great force in the middle of the cave. With a serious expression, he prepares to dodge the monster's swift attack coming from behind him. The guy manages to dodge the demonic creature's blow with impressive agility and escapes unharmed. He jumps high into the air to avoid the attack coming from the ground and gets away from the danger for a moment in the battle. Realizing the danger, he decides it's time to use a more practical skill for the fight. With a smile, he remembers the techniques he read in a book and feels confident about facing the enemy. The creature roars in fury and charges at the guy with a very powerful red energy. With a challenging look, he faces the monster and prepares for the next move in the fight to come. His wife screams desperately, telling him to be careful of the enemy's powerful approaching attack. The guy dodges several energy blasts with incredible speed and manages to escape the attacks unharmed. The creature attacks once more, causing a huge explosion where the protagonist was standing. Even in pain, he keeps a smile on his face and seems to be enjoying the intense fight. Lying on the ground, he complains that his head is hurting a lot from the impact of the hit he took. The three girls look at him with confused expressions, not understanding what's happening in the battle. He gets up and says he has almost mastered the new technique he learned for the fight against the monster. Using the technique, he creates several images of himself to confuse the monster and easily dodge its blows. Impressed, the girls wonder when he managed to progress so much in such a short time of cultivation. The creature becomes furious when it realizes it can't land a single hit on the protagonist, who dodges everything. The monster then uses a powerful sonic attack and launches a wave of red energy in their direction. His wife creates an energy shield to protect the group and warns everyone not to move during the attack. The monster charges forward with impressive speed and prepares another powerful attack against the group. His wife warns that the shield is about to break and that something very serious is about to happen in the fight. With a serious expression, the protagonist says there's no point in running and that it's time to take real action. With a blue aura, he summons several energy swords and prepares to counterattack the monster. The energy swords hit the monster head-on, and the impact of the blow is extremely strong and devastating. The force of the attack creates a huge explosion, and a cloud of dust rises at the battle site. After the dust settles, he realizes the monster is still alive and prepares for his next move. He then takes out a demonic golden core pill and says it can greatly increase his strength in the fight. His wife is shocked and wonders if he was hiding his talent all along and who he really is. The pink-haired girl says he's incredible and wonders who spread the rumor that he was useless. He explains that there's still time before the palace closes, and that if they increase their cultivation, they can advance. The guy then hands the pill to his wife, and the white-haired girl asks what that object is. With a wink, he says it's a great item for his wife, and she gets a little embarrassed by the gesture. Blushing, the white-haired girl thanks him for the gift and seems very happy with the attention she received. A new mission appears in the system, and he needs to eliminate 3 demonic cultivators hidden on the 2nd floor. The reward is a card that increases his wife's affinity by 10 points, and he is shocked by the prize. With a smile, he says he can't miss this task and gets ready for the new mission he just received. His wife holds the pill with both hands, and a golden light begins to shine with great intensity. The golden energy from the pill envelops her entire body, and she begins to meditate to absorb all the power. She feels an intense heat in her body, and in her memories, she sees some people fighting in a distant place. She remembers that the farmers believe fire devours all, leaving no trace behind. If it weren't for her father, she would have been taken out along with all her people on a tragic day. With determination, she vows to become stronger to avenge her family and her entire clan. The protagonist calls out to her, and the white-haired girl awakens from her memories with a serious expression. He wonders if she remembered something sad and worries about her reaction at that moment. To break the tense mood, he pretends to cough and gets the girl's attention for the next step. With a smile, he says they are going to train a little, and that he needs to take care of some things on his own. He asks the fox servant to look after his wife while he is away, and the girl agrees with a smile. His wife wonders where he is going and seems suspicious of her husband's true intentions. The system shows that the mission is to find the cultivators of the Junshin clan who are hiding on the 2nd floor. He remembers that there are 5 true clans on the continent and that their history is quite complicated. Among them, the Chonluan clan stands out for its strength since ancient times and for its great influence. The scene shows a giant purple monster attacking one of the clans with very powerful and destructive energy. Years ago, several clans united to protect the population from monster attacks that threatened everyone. He remembers that in the original story, some cultivators from the Zhenshan clan followed an evil path. Since the reward for the mission is very good, he decides he will deal with this first before moving on. With a leap, he sets off in search of the demonic cultivators, determined to complete the mission. On a distant cliff, he spots 2 people and a giant blue monster that seems to be with them. One of the girls warns the other to be careful, because the monster is very strong and could be dangerous. The creature then attacks with one of its tentacles, and the blow is extremely fast and hard to dodge. The blue-haired girl is caught by the monster's tentacles and screams in pain as she is captured by the creature. The other young woman is also caught and realizes her energy is being absorbed by the monster, which wants more power. Furious, She curses the demonic creature and tries to break free from the tentacles that hold her tightly. The tentacles tighten even more, and the red-haired girl struggles to free herself from their grip. With a sword strike, she manages to break free and attacks the blue slime monster to save her friend. She asks if her friend is okay, and the blue-haired girl says she just had a little of her energy drained. Watching from afar, the protagonist realizes that time is running out and prepares to take action. He thinks the evil cultivators are waiting for the right moment and decides he will find out the truth. Suddenly, 3 cloaked figures appear, and the girls scream, frightened by the mysterious presence. Terrified, they ask who the men who appeared out of nowhere are and what they want there. The group's leader tells them to talk less and crosses his arms with a look of superiority on his face. The villains launch a green energy attack, and the girls are already poisoned with nowhere to run. The energy gets closer, and the blue-haired girl screams for her friend, who tells her not to be afraid of the attack. But suddenly, the protagonist appears in front of them and blocks the attack with incredible speed. The red-haired girl is shocked by his sudden appearance and doesn't understand how he got there. With a smile, he says he arrived just in time and that they shouldn't have put the young women in danger. The villains ask who he is, and one of them warns not to underestimate him as he defended a double blow. He explains to the girls that the cultivators wanted to take advantage of them to steal their spiritual energy. With a wink, he says that now their plan has failed and that he heard they aren't interested in men. He then imagines the two of them together and thinks this is a great chance for him to get what he wants with them. With his eyes sparkling, he gets very excited about the great chance he just got to have some fun. But he remembers he first needs to focus on the mission the system gave him and faces the villains. One of the villains gets furious and shouts, asking how he dares to interfere with their evil plans. The 3 villains then attack at the same time, launching a powerful purple energy toward the guy. With a confident smile, he prepares to counterattack and puts his hands together to use a technique. He then unleashes a powerful wave of blue energy that throws the 3 villains far away with great force. The guy says he's had stronger rivals and prepares a new attack with golden energy in his hand. The golden energy attack hits the villains head-on, and they scream in pain as they are caught by the blow. Injured, one of the villains takes out a potion and says he will show him true suffering in battle. The 3 then drink the potion and with an evil laugh, say that this will be the protagonist's last day. With the potion, they become much stronger and float in the air with an even more powerful purple aura. The guy realizes they are using a magical weapon to absorb energy and fight for a longer time. The girls warn him to be careful, as the villains have just surpassed several realms at once. With a confident smile, he says that either way, they can't scare him with that power. One of the villains tells him to stop talking, and the 3 of them charge forward for a powerful, combined attack. Engulfed in golden flames, he asks what's wrong with talking and prepares to counterattack. He then launches a huge fire tornado toward the villains with impressive and swift force. The fire attack causes a huge explosion on the site and lifts many rocks with the force of its impact. Defeated, the villains wonder where that pressure came from and are shocked by the guy's power. He reveals that he is in the nascent soul stage, and the 2 girls are shocked by the discovery. With a smile, he asks if the villains now understand the power difference between them. The guy then says he will put them on the right path and goes on the attack with everything he's got. One of the villains realizes he has no chance of winning and yells that they need to retreat. To escape, the villains then throw a smoke bomb and the guy is surprised by their tactic. Annoyed, he tries to grab one of them, but the villain escapes through the smoke and the guy yells for him to stop. Meanwhile, the girls find a giant tree that glows with a mysterious blue light. The pink-haired girl asks if they aren't going to wait for him, but his wife says they don't know when he'll be back. With a determined look, she suggests they explore the area, as there must be many useful things there. The fox servant then approaches and touches the tree to feel the energy coming from it. Suddenly, a glowing core appears inside the tree, and she realizes something is hidden there. Shocked, his wife wonders if that's really a tree heart and is surprised. She explains that it is rare, and that if they can get the core, their cultivation will increase greatly. Without a second thought, she attacks the tree with her sword to try to get the wooden heart. But the blow is repelled by a barrier, and the fox servant is shocked by what happened. Confused, his wife doesn't understand what happened, and the tree begins to glow brighter. A strong wave of energy throws her away, and the white-haired woman screams from the impact. The pink-haired girl is impressed by the powerful energy that came from the large tree. Suddenly, a face with red eyes appears on the trunk, and the tree seems to be alive and furious. With a scary voice, the tree asks who dared to touch it and glares at the girls angrily. Embarrassed, his wife apologizes and says they didn't know the tree was resting. The tree says that since they woke it up, they will stay with it, and with a scary smile, it prepares to attack. The tree's roots then burst out of the ground, and the girls jump back to dodge the all-out attack. Shocked, the 2 wonder if they are going to pass away there, and the pink-haired girl despairs at the situation. His wife then looks up and sees more roots coming toward her to attack her without mercy. With her sword, she tries to defend herself and yells for the roots not to get close to her in the battle. One of the roots then rushes forward with incredible speed and prepares to capture one of the girls. The pink-haired girl is caught by the tree's vines, and she screams in pain as she is captured by the enemy. On the ground and trapped by the vines, she screams desperately and seems to be in a very tough spot. The fox servant recognizes the tree and says the goo it releases will slowly devour her over time. She also warns that if the tree is over 1,000 years old, no one there will be a match for it in a fight. The servant then asks to give it a try, focuses her energy to save the girl, and says they need to flee afterward. But suddenly she is caught off guard, and one of the tree's roots hits her right in the chest. His wife desperately screams the fox servant's name and is shocked by the scene she just witnessed. The tree says it knows they wanted its core, but now they will have to fight it to survive. His wife is also caught by the vines and is lifted into the air upside down, unable to react. Trapped by the vines, she feels her energy being drained and wonders what is happening to her body. The tree says it knows she is scared, but there is no escape, and she needs to hang in there. Submerged in water, she mentions the tree's poison and seems to be losing consciousness slowly. Desperate, she struggles and screams for the tree to let her go because she can't take the pressure of the vines anymore. One of the vines then opens a mouth and prepares to absorb all of the white-haired girl's energy. She screams in pain and wonders what that is as the vine squeezes her body with great force. The vine wraps around her leg, and the white-haired girl feels a strange energy coming from it. Losing consciousness, she remembers a moment from her past with her father in a distant place. In the memory, her father warns her that if she doesn't control her power, her path will be very difficult. Desperate and crying, she screams for her father as a dark energy completely envelops her. A tear rolls down her cheek, and the white-haired girl seems to be suffering greatly from the memory. Suddenly, her eyes open with a pink glow, and the vine in front of her begins to crack. With an explosion of red energy, she frees herself from the vines and shows off all her new power. With red eyes and a scary aura, she glares at the tree with a look of pure malice. Holding a piece of the broken vine, she looks ready for revenge against the creature. Without a second thought, she charges straight toward the tree's face to strike with force. With a swift and powerful movement, she prepares to land a direct hit on her great enemy. With a wicked smile, she punches the tree and calls it an insect with great contempt. The punch lands squarely and causes a huge impact on the trunk of the creature that was attacking her. The tree then screams in pain and puts its hand on its face where it was hit by her powerful blow. With a superior pose, the young woman prepares to continue the fight and finish off the tree. She feels the spiritual energy and yin energy mixing and flowing throughout her body. The young woman feels as if a second breath is opening up inside her body now. Terrified, the tree recognizes her as a demon and suddenly begs her to stop the attack. Annoyed, she asks if the tree thinks she'll stop just because it admitted its mistake in the fight. The tree explains that it promised not to attack the descendants of a powerful man from the demon clan. It says that behind it is a spring of energy that can heal wounds and cleans the body's channels. The spring of energy glows with an intense blue light and seems to be a perfect place to recover. With a wicked smile, the white-haired woman thinks that if she finishes it off, she can take both the core and the spring. The tree warns that if she takes it out, the palace guards will awaken, and she will suffer greatly for it. The white-haired woman realizes it's not lying and that she can't maintain her current state. She then warns the tree not to let anyone bother her and heads toward the spring of energy. The young woman then sits on the edge of the spring, preparing to get in the water and heal her injuries. She then drinks some of the spring water and feels a strange, but very good sensation in her body. With a blushing face, she says the water is very good and that her tongue was wrapped in something smooth. Feeling very hot, she starts to take off her clothes and seems to be enjoying the spring water. She thinks that, if the protagonist were there, she would like to try the spring water with him. The young woman then takes off the rest of her clothes and prepares to get completely into the spring water. She notices that the place is full of energy and that the water can heal wounds and transform the pill. Upon entering the water, she cries out in pleasure and says the feeling is very good and refreshing for the body. The other two girls are passed out on the edge of the spring while she enjoys the water alone. Suddenly, some monkeys appear and jump from the tree branches with a great commotion. They grab the girl's clothes, and the fox servant wakes up, startled by the monkeys' confusion. The two then fall into the water, and the white-haired woman screams in surprise at the sudden fall. Embarrassed, the two girls scream in the water, and the scene ends with a moment of pure comedy. With a smile, his wife waves to the other two girls, who are completely shocked and embarrassed in the water. The girl then remembers the moment her power awakened, and she was able to easily break free from the tree's vines. She explains that she was suddenly filled with power, and that's why she was able to defeat the tree and find the spring of energy. The pink-haired girl wonders if this was the same weird force that grabbed her last time. While relaxing in the water with the monkeys, they decide to let it go and worry about it later. Out of nowhere, one of the little monkeys starts splashing water on them, and the girls are confused about what's going on. The creature gives a mischievous look, clearly taking advantage of their situation in the spring. He splashes even more water, and the two of them scream at the prank while the monkey cracks up laughing. Annoyed by the creature's nerve, the two of them sock him and send him flying far away. The scene changes and shows the protagonist returning with two villains already in the bag, mentioning that one managed to get away. Then the system announces that the mission is almost over, and he freaks out for having lost affinity points. The red-haired woman looks at him, impressed that such a young guy could be so strong. She even thinks he must be some chosen one from the heavens for being so powerful and calm on top of it. Blushing, the hero gets all excited, finding the two of them a real sight for sore eyes. He gives a little cough to cover it up and tells them the guys who attacked them have been taken care of. The two of them look at him in surprise, clearly grateful for his help. The young man says his goodbyes, saying he needs to hit the road to continue his journey in the palace. Alone, he thinks it was all a waste of effort and that he needs to get back to his wife and the others soon. The red-haired girl thanks him and casually asks if he'd like some company for the trip. They get closer and explain that in their sect, people usually cultivate together with other women. The young man pulls their hands away and immediately refuses the offer, saying he doesn't need that kind of thing. He gets straight to the point, explaining that he's already married and isn't planning on getting with anyone else. Without mincing words, he tells them they're weak and should go back to the first floor to train more. The protagonist meets up with his group again and explains that they will continue cultivating together. 4 days pass, and he prepares to open a portal with his blue energy and move forward. In the meantime, he also meditated and trained hard, with a sinister fiery aura around him. With a determined look, he opens his eyes, revealing his new and absurd cultivation power. When he's done, he finds his wife and the other girl, who also seem much stronger. Smiling, he comments that everyone's cultivation has improved and that now they're heading to the 3rd floor. Meanwhile, back on the 2nd floor, a mysterious creature lets out an evil laugh. The last villain who escaped comments that it's a good thing they didn't run into any dangerous beasts around there. But out of nowhere, a monster grabs him, and the guy complains about having such bad luck. The creature uses a weird device to suck the bald man's energy with a bizarre purple aura. Engulfed by the energy, the man screams in pain but swears he won't let this slide. He transforms and promises that he'll make the protagonist bitterly regret messing with him. With a furious shout, the transformed villain yells that now they'll see who's truly the strongest. A screen appears showing the group's power level, and you can see that the protagonist is a beast. The screen also shows that the girls got a nice boost in their cultivation while inside. The group arrives at a portal, and he tells them that the path to the 3rd level is through there. Suspicious, his wife crosses her arms and asks how he knows all of this. He makes up an excuse, saying his father told him about the place, but she knows right away it's a lie. The protagonist then takes a step forward, covered in a blue aura, ready to enter the portal. They enter a marketplace and he comments that, just like in the book, there are 3 demons hiding around there. In the market, a vendor offers roasted rabbit meat to the group as they pass by. The man approaches the protagonist and insists that he try the food from his stall. The vendor tells him not to be shy and to give it a try, even if he's not going to buy it. They keep insisting, but the protagonist refuses, saying his wife can't eat it because she's pregnant. Smiling, he takes the skewer and eats it, telling his wife not to worry, he'll try it for her. The fox servant starts to cry at the scene, and the pink-haired girl doesn't understand why. Crying, the fox girl complains that rabbits are too cute to be turned into food. The pink-haired girl eats and comments that the food is delicious, and that someone there is very brave. Suddenly, a system screen shows a new mission: free 20 souls in exchange for a reward. Confused, he wonders why the system is giving him these weird missions about souls. Out of nowhere, a purple-haired woman jumps from a rooftop and runs toward the group. She comes running desperately, asking for help, while some masked guys are hot on her trail. The protagonist's wife steps in front and takes down one of the pursuers with a kick. The woman throws herself into the hero's arms, saying she's terrified of the situation. With unfriendly looks, his wife and the other girl ask her what she thinks she's doing. The pink-haired girl pulls her away and asks if she doesn't understand the rules between men and women. With a red face, the protagonist thinks about how she's blushing while scolding the others. The woman thanks them, introduces herself as the owner of a nearby tavern, and invites everyone to go there. With a sly smile, the protagonist's wife tells her to lead the way then. The woman plays helpless, saying she hurt her leg and asks if the protagonist can carry her on his back. The white-haired wife shuts her down, saying she'll help her herself, and there's no need to bother her husband. In the end, the purple-haired woman ends up riding a donkey they just bought, and the hero gets really annoyed. The protagonist walks beside the animal and wonders why on earth he still has to lead the woman by the hand. His wife and the other girl watch the scene and comment that it's good to have her around to keep an eye on suspicious people. The pink-haired girl looks into the distance and sees the rabbit vendor with a very weird smile. The protagonist pulls out a purification card, thinking there's something fishy about that rabbit meat. He notices that his friend is acting strangely and gets worried because he only has 1 card to use. Arriving at the tavern, the purple-haired woman invites them to eat as a thank you. The young man looks around suspiciously, wondering if there are any lost souls in this huge place. His wife comes close and whispers that something is wrong and they need to stay sharp. The purple-haired woman's hands start to glow, and she gets ready to pull something. The woman calls over other girls and asks them to entertain the guests in the best way possible. 3 young women appear from behind a curtain, ready for a special performance. The girls introduce themselves, telling their names to the watching group. They then start to dance and play lively music to entertain the crowd. The protagonist drinks excitedly and shouts for them to keep the music and dancing going. The tavern owner thinks the young man fell for their act, but he drops something into his own drink. Suddenly, the young man grabs his wife, and they both fall to the floor, pretending to be dizzy. He falls onto a bed with the white-haired woman on top of him, appearing to be passed out. The white-haired young woman looks at him all flushed, seemingly under the effect of something. She thinks that looking up close, the young man actually has a very handsome face. Suddenly, the white-haired woman realizes something is off, and is very surprised. With a blushing face and drooling, she seems to be completely out of it because of the drink. He opens his eyes with a smile and asks if his wife has stared at him long enough. Shocked, she screams and asks why he isn't drunk like he's supposed to be. The young woman gets furious, and he tells her to calm down, explaining he needed to distract the old witch who was keeping an eye on them. With a serious and irritated look, the white-haired girl repeats the insult he just threw out. He explains that the three demonesses are hiding their auras and plotting something against them. His wife listens carefully and understands they will try to get close to put their plan into action. The young man says he will sneak into the woman's room at night to look for more clues. Worried, she reminds him that he ate the meat, but he explains that he discreetly spit it all out. With a confident look, he says he already has a perfect plan to visit the woman's room. The scene cuts to the tavern owner's room as she slowly enters. The protagonist has transformed into a paintbrush and thinks about how clever he is for turning into such a simple thing. The woman then approaches the table, and the paintbrush wonders why she's coming in that direction. She picks him up, and he panics thinking he's been discovered, but then quickly thinks it's impossible. The tavern owner sits on the bed with the paintbrush in her hand and a very thoughtful look. With a strange expression, she stares at the object, and he wonders what she's planning. The woman thinks that it's been a while since she's had a man, and that the nights alone are very long. She then starts to brush her body with the paintbrush, and he thinks she must be really desperate. The young man turns back to normal and falls on top of the woman, saying he got too excited and transformed back. Desperate, he apologizes and says the night was so enchanting that he lost himself. The woman yells at him to stop, and the hero runs off, scared of her reaction. She invites him to spend the night with her, since the night is still young. The young man refuses and says his wife is waiting and he can't be late. He tries to open the door, but the woman locks it and prevents him from leaving the room no matter what. She reveals herself as a demoness and asks why he wants to leave so soon. Furious, the woman asks if he doesn't like being with her, and the hero senses her power. Suddenly, the protagonist's wife breaks down the door and enters the room to save him. She says she knew something had happened because he was taking too long to come back. The fox servant and the other girl also appear, saying something is wrong with their friend. The pink-haired woman complains about being hot, and the young man and his wife wonder what happened. With an evil smile, the demoness says they'll get a bonus for coming all the way there. Furious, the protagonist asks what she did to his friend, but the villain just laughs. The demoness explains that the girl ate the rabbit meat, which was full of worm eggs. The villain says that now she will become her puppet, and that everyone there will share the same fate. The young man understands that all the others who tried to go to the third floor disappeared because of her. He then asks the fox servant to take care of the pink-haired girl and get her out of there. The pink-haired young woman screams in pain, and the servant tries to help her control the effect. The protagonist then tells his wife to take care of the other two while he settles things with the villain. The demoness underestimates him and wonders what such a weak cultivator can do against her. With a powerful stomp on the ground, the villain shows her strength and prepares to attack. Surrounded by her purple aura, the woman charges at the young man with an evil smile. But the hero dodges the blow, and the demoness is confused, not understanding what happened. He moves in a strange way and manages to easily dodge all of her attacks. With a furious expression, the villain grits her teeth for not being able to hit him in the fight. The young man then asks if his wife is okay after she defeated one of the other girls. With a superior look, she steps on one of the women and says they are no match for her. The villain then says the fun is just getting started and controls one of the fallen girls. The girls get up with a purple aura, and the young man's wife wonders what's happening. The system's mission updates, and he finally understands what freeing the souls means. He explains that the bodies are puppets, and the villain uses the souls of others as weapons. With an evil smile, the demoness says they can fight all they want, because the puppets don't perish. The villain says that last time he was lucky to dodge the blows she threw at him. She then launches a purple energy attack toward the young man with all her strength. With a serious look, the protagonist prepares to face the demoness's powerful attack. The young man dodges the blow with a backflip, and the attack shatters the floor on impact. The villain is shocked that he managed to dodge again and seems to not believe it. With a drop of sweat on her face, the demoness gulps and gets nervous about the situation. The protagonist makes a face and sticks his tongue out at the villain, mocking her. Furious, the demoness asks if all he knows is how to hide and run from battle. The villain then floats with her puppets and prepares for a group attack. His wife says they are just 3 at the 4th stage of the Golden Core. With an evil smile, the villain says she's lucky to find a half-demon. The system shows her demonization level, and the young man is shocked by the number. With a red aura, she says that if they are puppets, they need to be destroyed. He stops her and explains that if she destroys the puppets, the souls trapped inside them will vanish. The villain charges forward and says not to harm the women, as the men don't matter. With a confident look, his wife prepares to fight against the puppets. She then attacks the girls and wonders if they really think they can hurt her. One of the puppets attacks her from behind with a tentacle to catch her by surprise. But the protagonist steps in front and blocks the blow to protect his beloved wife. Scared, she asks if he's okay, and the young man seems to be in a lot of pain from the hit. With a smile, he says everything is fine and that it's his duty to protect her from danger. The system announces that their affinity has increased and rewards him with a powerful sword. On the floor, the puppets are defeated and seem to have no more energy to fight. His wife then floats, and the villain wonders what she's planning to do. She absorbs the puppet's energy and says her body is filling with power. The young man is shocked and wonders when she learned to absorb spiritual energy. The demoness screams for her to stop because if she sucks all the energy, the puppets will be useless. He explains that she needs yin energy to maintain the puppets, which is why her attacks are weak. With an evil smile, the demoness says that to deal with him, she won't need to try very hard. The villain then prepares for a powerful attack and says she won't need to hold back in the fight. She charges from above and yells for the protagonist to end this once and for all. The young man dodges the blow, and the demoness's attack hits the floor with great force. With a serious look, he asks if she really thought he would fall for such an obvious attack. He takes his new sword and says this is a great chance to test out the new weapon. With a swift move, the hero charges with his flaming sword to attack the demoness. Fallen on the ground, the villain is shocked by his strength and doesn't understand how he's so powerful. She recognizes the sword and wonders how he can cultivate pure yin and who he really is. He points the sword at her and says he will finish her to avenge the innocent. With a hateful expression, the demoness grits her teeth and seems to be very angry. She laughs and says that humans never had mercy on her race and took everything from her. The system announces that the mission is complete, and he has gained access to a new feature. Suddenly, the young man's wife is enveloped in red energy and seems to be in pain. Shocked, he runs to her and asks what's happening to his beloved wife. The demoness laughs and explains that her weak body can't handle the demonic energy from the puppets. Desperate, he picks her up in his arms, and the villain says she'll soon be bleeding from everywhere. He says he'll get her out of there, and they'll find a doctor to help her heal. The young man then runs with her in his arms toward a portal to leave the palace. He leaps backward with his wife in his arms to escape the villain's pursuit. The rabbit vendor appears and asks where the protagonist thinks he's going in such a hurry. The man attacks him, and the system tells him to put his wife in the spatial ring. A system bird explains that time there passes more slowly than the outside world. With his flaming sword, the young man prepares to fight the mysterious vendor. The man says he has valuable things, and that he'll take everything after he's done with him. The demoness thinks the young man is strange, as he has the sword and pure yin cultivation. With an evil smile, the man says the hero is unlucky to run into him there. He charges to attack and wonders what the young man will do with that powerful sword. The man says that without the dragon spirit, the sword is just a useless piece of iron. The protagonist blocks the man's attacks with the sword, and the two begin to fight. He attacks with his flaming sword, but the villain throws knives to defend against the blow. The vendor is surprised by the young man's power and wonders what kind of attack that is. He then summons the dragon spirit and asks who said he couldn't do that. Elsewhere, the original protagonist and his group feel the dragon's aura and are startled. The master says they need to find the entrance and get out of that place as fast as possible. The demoness and the vendor are shocked to see the dragon spirit summoned by the hero. The man wonders how he summoned the spirit with such a low cultivation level. Afraid, he kneels and begs for forgiveness, offering the key to the third level. The demoness yells and reminds him that the man forgot about the mark she placed on him earlier. Confused, the young man asks what she's talking about and what that mark on his forehead is. The man explains that it's a curse placed on them by the ancestor of the underground palace. The demoness sadly recalls that the ancestor wiped out her entire race of serpents. She says he condemned them to protect that palace forever and cursed them. The man shows the key and says that if they perished, the curse would end with them. He hands over the key and says there must be a way to get out of that trap somehow. The protagonist asks how they can break the curse that was placed on them. The man explains that they need to receive the inheritance and finish off the ancestor's body. The young man thinks he can take advantage of the situation and get a double victory right there. He makes a proposal and says he will spare them and lift the curse if they agree. Furious, the two say he's in no position to impose conditions on them. The hero points his sword at the demoness and looks at them with a serious and intimidating expression. He tells them to choose between life or being taken out, and the two agree to his proposal. The man explains that it's a contract and that as soon as he fulfills his part, the deal will be valid. The young man says they will be his servants and that any attempt at betrayal will lead to their end. He then makes a blood contract with the two, and a fire mark appears on their foreheads. The marks glow, and now the two are officially servants of the palace's protagonist. With the glowing marks, the two look at the young man with serious and submissive expressions. The hero then asks where the other demon they mentioned during the fight is. The man says that the fox servant received a surge of energy and hasn't recovered yet. He remembers the rabbit girl and realizes she plays an important role in the original story. The young man recalls that in the story, she had an energy surge and was almost caught because of it. The demoness explains that his pure yin body is capable of producing energy infinitely. With a smile, he says he gave her a little of his energy to help her recover. He thinks that with his entourage, they must be getting close to the main objective. The young man and his new servants go to the door, and the man says no one has ever obtained the inheritance. The demoness asks if he really trusts the young man, and the man says they have no choice. Back in the room, the fox servant gives the antidote to the pink-haired girl to drink. He asks the servant to take the girl outside, that they will go to the next level later. In the celestial space, the young man's wife is lying down, surrounded by a dark energy. She gets up with the same dark energy and seems to be controlled by it. Suddenly, the protagonist appears and approaches her with a serious and worried look. He holds her by the waist, and the white-haired young woman seems confused by the situation. The young man says the excess energy could harm her, and that he will help her get rid of it. The two look at each other with flushed faces, and the girl seems to be in some kind of trance. Startled, she pushes him away and asks what he's doing there with her at that moment. With a smile, he says he's helping her get rid of the excess spiritual energy. The woman looks at the red energy in front of her and seems surprised by it. She feels her body getting warmer, and a ball of energy forms in her chest. He gets closer and asks if she isn't feeling a warmth in her body and a weakness. With a smile, he tells her to call him dear husband, and he'll help her recover. Furious, his wife asks if he's gone completely mad to make such a request. With an irritated look, she glares at the young man and seems very angry about the situation. The white-haired woman loses her balance and falls to the ground, feeling great pain in her body. He says he won't insist, but warns that if she doesn't clear her meridians, she won't be able to cultivate anymore. Embarrassed, she calls him dear husband, and he gets a nosebleed from the excitement. His wife lies down on the grass and tells him to wait a bit before continuing. Suddenly, the white-haired young woman screams and seems to be in great pain. The system announces that their affinity has increased, and he gets a card to change outfits. With the card in hand, he thinks that with more affinity, he'll have more opportunities with her. The young man stands up and says that now they will go to the final level of the underground palace. In a city, the original protagonist and his group emerge from a bright blue portal. The rabbit vendor appears again and offers his food to the people on the street. The original protagonist's mentor takes a skewer and says he was really hungry. The other young man offers the skewer to the original protagonist, who eyes him suspiciously. With a glint in his eyes, he realizes the vendor is a demon and is surprised. The vendor laughs and says he didn't expect to meet so many interesting people that year. Suddenly, the original protagonist feels something strange and cries out in pain, clutching his stomach. His friend holds him and asks what's happening to him, but the young man is in great pain. The vendor laughs and says a 1,000-year-old larva has entered him and will turn him into a puppet. Enveloped in her purple aura, the demoness praises the rabbit vendor's work. With an evil smile, the ancestor says he will extract their souls to create new puppets. With his sword glowing blue, the protagonist prepares for the next battle. He takes a step forward and gets ready to face the villains who have appeared. The young man reaches the final level and sees the ancestor's body sitting on a throne of bones. The ancestor's spirit appears and says he didn't pass the test and must leave. With a defiant look, the protagonist asks what will happen if he refuses. With his scythe in hand, the ancestor prepares to attack the young man with his energy. Furious, the spirit yells for the hero to get lost and attacks him with all his might. The two cross their weapons, and a great energy is released from the clash of the blades. The ancestor uses his scythe, and a mysterious shadow appears to attack the young man. The protagonist dodges the blow, and the shadow passes by him without being able to hit him. The spirit says he is not worthy of his inheritance because he couldn't defeat the guardians. The young man shows a card and says he doesn't need his technique to win the fight. Enveloped in a fiery aura, he says the old man is strong, but he has a trick up his sleeve. The ancestor is surprised by the young man's power and seems to not believe what he's seeing. The spirit charges with his scythe and says the young man hid his strength to enter the palace. The protagonist blocks the blow with his sword and prepares for a counterattack. With a stomp on the ground, the young man shatters the floor and prepares for his next move. He then kicks the ancestor and sends him flying with the force of the blow he just delivered. The ancestor's spirit is thrown against a wall, and a large explosion occurs. With a pained expression, the villain is shocked by the protagonist's strength in battle. The spirit then rises with its purple aura and seems to be preparing for a new attack. The young man watches carefully and waits for the ancestor's next move in that fight. With a determined look, the hero prepares to continue the battle and defeat the spirit. The protagonist appears behind the villain and grabs him by the neck with great force. The ancestor begs to be released and promises to give his technique as a reward for his life. With a smile, the young man says he already told him he doesn't need his technique for anything. The spirit grits his teeth and wonders what the protagonist wants to do with him there. The power card runs out, and the ancestor prepares to attack the young man with his scythe. With the scythe in hand, he says that the peak of that power isn't so impressive after all. The spirit merges with its body on the throne, and a purple energy is released throughout the area. The ancestor transforms and says that after 400 years, someone has finally arrived. The protagonist is shocked by the transformation and wonders what happened to the villain. The ancestor says the old man is still alive, and the young man is surprised by this information. With his hand outstretched, the villain prepares to attack the hero with his purple energy. The young man dodges the attack, and the energy passes by him without managing to hit him in the fight. The energy attack transforms into a scythe and returns in the protagonist's direction. The ancestor catches his weapon and says that this is his old friend who has returned to him. With the scythe in hand, he shows his true power, and a purple energy takes over the place. The young man wonders why the story is deviating so much from the original script. The ancestor says the young man is either lucky or unlucky to have arrived at that moment. He summons a giant skeleton and says he only has a little divine consciousness left. With an angry face, the hero complains that he protected the place for centuries. The skeleton says the young man came for the immortal's seal and is mocking him. He says the hero's arrival gives him new hope for his evil plans. With a determined look, the ancestor faces the young man and prepares to attack. Our protagonist is enveloped in a fiery aura and prepares for the final battle. The skeleton is destroyed, and the ancestor says the path to immortality has opened. The young man says the old man is very bold for thinking he can take over his body. Furious, the ancestor charges to attack the hero with his powerful purple energy. The villain then launches a black water attack that sucks all the air around the protagonist. He says the young man will run out of air and won't be able to escape that deadly technique. The ancestor is then shocked to see that the hero managed to escape his attack somehow. Enveloped in fire, the young man says that great opportunities come with great dangers. With a furious look and glowing eyes, he asks what the ancestor just said. The ancestor is stunned, demanding to know how the young man merged with the sword, a feat that requires centuries of practice. Enraged, the spirit declares his plan to possess the boy's body and rifle through his memories for secrets. Yet, with remarkable composure, our hero halts the villain's assault with just a single finger. Now glowing with a golden aura, he activates a technique, warning the old spirit that he's messed with the wrong guy. Witnessing this incredible display of power, the spirit is left completely speechless and bewildered. The technique then ensnares the villain in chains, surrounding him with numerous golden energy swords. In that instant, the ancestor finds himself completely immobilized by our hero's overwhelming ability. With a simple flick of his wrist, the young man commands the blades to strike the malevolent spirit. Left defenseless, the villain is struck head-on and sent flying by the force of the powerful blows. With his enemy down, our hero explains that villains always lose because they foolishly underestimate their opponents. He reveals his fusion with the sword was a system gift, granting him 100% compatibility from the start. The system then announces his victory, confirming the villain's cultivation has been converted into an upgrade card. Without hesitation, the prince decides to use the card immediately to bolster his own cultivation power. A golden light envelops him. He feels the emptiness vanish as his energy is completely restored. Another reward is unveiled by the system, a seal that can summon an immortal spirit up to 3 times. His excitement fades, however, when he sees each summon costs 100 years of life, making unusable for him. He then collects the villain's scythe and technique book, deciding they will make a perfect gift for his wife. In another scene, the 2 demons are being interrogated after their capture by the story's original protagonist. Furious, the original hero threatens them, vowing that if they don't produce the antidote, they will meet a grim end. Suddenly, both demons are shocked to find that the curse marks on their foreheads have completely disappeared. As the mark vanishes, the purple-haired woman exclaims that her power is finally restored and she is free. The original hero roars in disbelief, shouting that it's impossible for them to have broken his chains. Seizing the moment, the rabbit vendor blasts the hero with pink energy, seeking revenge for his capture. But just in time, the rabbit girl appears, blocking the original hero's attack with her candy skewer. She counters with everything she has, launching the hero away while screaming that he'll pay for hurting her friends. Meanwhile, back in their room, the sixth prince asks his wife what's wrong. She tells him she feels a strange energy. Our hero spins around, having also sensed a presence approaching from just outside. The couple rushes outdoors to find the 3 demons standing before them with hostile expressions. The rabbit girl points accusingly at the prince, asking if he's the one who hurt her demon siblings. Our hero tenses up, sizing up the trio's power level and realizing this is going to be a tough fight. With that, the 2 demon girls rise into the air, preparing to unleash a merciless attack on the couple. The prince and his wife immediately get into a back-to-back stance, bracing for the impending battle. The scene flashes back a few minutes, showing the last escaped villain grabbing the heart of the tree. Suddenly, the stone ground beneath him cracks and shifts, seemingly coming to life. The bald villain looks around in confusion, wondering what kind of strange place he stumbled into. At that moment, a giant monkey appears and snatches him up as he screams to be released. A wicked grin spreads across the creature's face as it stares down at the terrified villain in its grasp. Without an ounce of pity, the monkey devours the man, whose cries of pain and despair echo as he's consumed. The massive creature then smashes its fist into the stone floor, shattering the seal that had imprisoned it. It roars in pure hatred, yelling that the ancestor trapped it for centuries just to steal its energy for the palace. As the monkey rages, the entire underground palace starts to collapse, leaving a nearby cultivator in shock. Our protagonist and his wife are thrown aside as the giant simian creature tears everything apart. The beast then morphs into a more humanoid form, radiating a powerful golden aura. With a mighty leap, it soars into the sky, leaving the ruined palace behind and terrifying all who watch. Just then, two cultivators with flaming swords appear, accusing the being of being a destructive demon. The monkey, completely unfazed, effortlessly lands a punch square on one of their faces. The blow is so powerful it creates a shockwave, sending the man flying without any chance to defend himself. The second cultivator watches in horror as his partner falls, only for the creature to appear right behind him. Terrified, the young man turns to plead for his life, but the monkey seems to have no interest in talking. Without hesitating, the creature strikes him down with a decisive blow, showing no mercy to anyone there. Now armed with a staff, the simian being strikes a pose, exuding an air of absolute power. At that moment, our hero, the sixth prince, appears, shouting for the monkey to stop its rampage at once. With an irritated glare, he faces the creature, looking ready to settle things with force. But suddenly, a beautiful woman with white hair materializes, remarking that the prince is as impulsive as ever. He recognizes her instantly, calling her Elder Hua, with surprise and respect in his voice. The two defeated cultivators look relieved, knowing she is a powerful elder from their sect who can seal the beast. The monkey glares at Elder Hua, asking if she's also here to be slaughtered, adding that this will be fun. She lunges, but he parries, and she realizes the monkey is stronger now, causing her old wound to reopen. A pained expression crosses her face as the old injury flares up, making the fight far more challenging. Sensing her distraction, the creature charges forward, eager to press its advantage and attack with full power. The monkey swings its staff down, and Elder Hua desperately tries to dodge the powerful incoming blow. In the nick of time, she manages to block the staff with her bare hand, a testament to her incredible skill. But the sheer force of the impact sends her flying back violently, causing her to lose her footing. While airborne, the elder performs a graceful flip, recovering from the powerful strike with style. She lands perfectly on her feet, looking prepared to continue the battle against the mighty creature. A vein throbs on her forehead. She's clearly infuriated by the monkey's assault and is ready to strike back. The creature charges once more, its staff now wreathed in flames, ready for another brutal exchange. Not backing down, Elder Hua counters with a water technique, creating a stunning clash of elements. Using her power, she forms a massive sword of water, preparing to launch a devastating attack. With a look of pure determination, the white-haired woman shows she is no longer holding back. She then summons a colossal water dragon, which surges forward directly at her opponent. The water dragon moves with incredible speed, poised to completely engulf the simian creature. Her attack hits its mark, trapping the monkey within a vortex of swirling water and raw energy. Without wasting a moment, the elder creates another water sword, preparing for the finishing blow. She plunges the sword into the ground with all her might, activating a sealing formation to trap the beast. The technique's energy spreads across the ground, forming a giant, glowing seal to contain the creature for good. Exhausted, she catches her breath, complaining that the final attack took almost all of her energy. Drained, the woman closes her eyes, appearing to have reached her absolute limit after unleashing such a massive technique. Suddenly, a hand rests on her shoulder, startling her with the unexpected presence. Elder Hua's eyes go wide with surprise as she sees who has just appeared to help her. It was our hero, the sixth prince, supporting her. Confused, the white-haired woman asks, "Who are you?" With deep concern, the young man asks if Elder Hua is alright after the grueling battle. She explains that her old wound reopened and, with her energy depleted, she needs help restraining the monkey. Just then, someone else steps forward, determined to assist in the unfolding crisis. The original hero offers his help, asking the sixth prince to join him in containing the creature. Our protagonist groans internally. He just finished one fight and was desperately hoping for some peace. The monkey, glowing with a red aura, taunts Elder Hua, asking why a strong cultivator like her needs help. He then accuses all cultivators of being dishonorable, claiming the ancestor was the worst of them all. Pointing at the group, he calls them a bunch of weaklings, boasting that he isn't afraid no matter how many show up. With a confident smirk, the prince draws his flaming sword, saying he's ready to play with the beast. Enraged, the creature leaps forward, yelling for the young man to stop talking and start fighting. Wreathed in flames, the simian being attacks with its staff, unleashing impressive power and fury. But our hero remains perfectly calm, ready his own flaming sword for a counter-attack. With a swift motion, he executes a dragon's gleam technique, launching a blast of golden light. The strike is so precise it shatters the monkey's staff in mid-air before it can reach its target. Defeated on the ground, the monkey mutters in frustration as the prince stands over him, sword ready. Watching from a distance, the original hero realizes the sixth prince's energy is the same he sensed before. He concludes that with the palace gone, the immortal seal must be in our hero's possession, and he must retrieve it. The sixth prince remarks that he might have overdone it, while the other hero asks if he found anything valuable. He plays it cool, saying he only won because the elder had already weakened the beast, thinking to himself, "I'm not that foolish." Elder Hua reflects that even though she wounded the monkey, he is by no means an easy opponent to defeat. Our hero offers his assistance, but she declines, remarking that this is her first time seeing a sealer in person. She then turns to the monkey, telling him that the glowing sphere she holds was made just for him. Holding the orb, the woman faces the creature, who suspiciously asks what she's planning to do. Surrounded by blue energy, she explains the sphere will not only seal him but also slowly purify his malevolent energy. The monkey becomes enraged, shouting that he once saved a cultivator, only to be rewarded by being sealed for centuries. With a gentle touch, she activates the seal on the creature's head to calm him so she can proceed. I'm sorry, the elder whispers as the scene flashes back 400 years to a dense forest. A much younger Hua was fleeing from a giant frog monster, crying out desperately for help. The monster's long tongue shot out, catching her off guard with no chance to escape. The tongue wrapped around her waist, slamming her against a tree with brutal, merciless force. She screamed for the beast to let her go, but it showed no signs of obeying her pleas. The frog lifted her high into the air as she begged not to be harmed, utterly terrified. With a sickening gulp, the creature swallowed her whole, trapping her within its transparent, disgusting stomach. The monster seemed delighted, remarking on its good fortune in finding such a beautiful woman. Suddenly, a young monkey appeared, irritably telling the frog to get out of his way. The frog mocked him, asking if he was also looking for a beatdown, clearly unafraid of a fight. Losing his patience, the monkey attacked with his flaming staff, striking with incredible force and speed. The blow created a massive explosion of golden energy, defeating the frog monster in a single hit. Now free, the young woman collapses to the ground, laughing with a mixture of embarrassment and relief. Leaning his staff on his shoulders, the monkey boasts that a weakling like that frog should have known better. Just then, the young Hua tugs on his sash to get his attention, wanting to express her gratitude. With a shy expression, she thanks him for saving her from the frog monster that had attacked her in the forest. He steps closer, asking why a girl as weak as her was wandering alone in such a dangerous place. The young monkey lifts her chin as she explains that she wasn't alone, her master had just stepped away for a moment. Suddenly, a pair of eyes glows with an eerie purple light as a new figure emerges from the woods. It was Hua's master who praised her, saying she had done an excellent job luring the creature. Without warning, a purple energy ensnares the monkey, taking him completely by surprise. He struggles, confused by the strange power that has suddenly immobilized him. Hu tries to stop her master, insisting that the monkey saved her and is not their enemy. Her master ignores her, stating that all demons are inherently evil, and he would have eventually betrayed her. She runs towards them, screaming for her master to release him, realizing he was just a pawn in their plan. Their hands nearly touch before the malevolent energy pushes them apart, preventing their contact. Back in the present, Elder Hor reflects that the monkey was a good demon, but her master had cruelly used him. In a grand hall, the group reports the recent events to a high-ranking elder. Elder Hua explains that the palace crumbled and the monster escaped due to an outside attack. The other young cultivator insults her, calling her useless, which makes her burn with anger. She doesn't hold back, retorting with a sharp jab about his own well-known personal problems. The two of them lock eyes with murderous glares, the rivalry between them sparking in the middle of the hall. The great elder orders them to stop, declaring that the priority now is to identify who attacked the sacred tree. The great elder then commands another cultivator to head to the palace ruins and investigate the situation thoroughly. With a sullen expression, the man accepts the order and prepares to depart on his mission. The scene then shifts to the first prince's mansion, where the night is deceptively calm. Inside, the villain who was defeated earlier fumes that he wanted revenge, but the palace collapsed. His eyes narrow in anger as he recalls spotting a few demons just outside the palace grounds. He slams his fist on the table, swearing vengeance on the rabbit demon who injured him. The woman beside him tries to soothe his anger, offering a night of fun to help him relax. With a wicked grin, the prince grabs her wrist, seemingly accepting the young woman's offer. The atmosphere in the palace chamber heats up as the two begin to enjoy themselves. The woman seems to be reveling in the moment, giving herself completely to the prince. The villain, in turn, takes full advantage of the situation, enjoying the beautiful woman's company. Meanwhile, outside, a guard is seen hurrying down the corridor with an urgent message. But another guard intercepts him, stating that the prince is occupied and cannot be disturbed. The messenger insists, stressing that he has critically important news for his master. The guard blocks his path again, firmly repeating the order that no one is to enter the prince's chambers. Back in the room, the woman seems to be reaching her climax after her time with the prince. The villain hears the commotion outside and angrily demands to know what's causing the racket. Ignoring the orders, the guard bursts in, shouting that the sixth prince helped the elder seal the demon. Stunned by the news, the prince violently shoves the woman aside without a second thought. She hits the floor, crying out that he hurt her, but the prince couldn't care less. The first prince grinds his teeth, seething with rage over the news about his younger brother. With a furious roar, he tells the woman to shut her mouth and blasts her with powerful blue energy. The attack strikes the young woman's face directly, giving her no time to react to his sudden violence. She collapses to the floor unconscious, as the prince glares down at her with pure contempt. Now fully dressed, he orders his guards to clean the room and dispose of the woman immediately. He then grabs the guard by the collar, demanding a detailed account of everything that happened with the sixth prince. The guard explains how the palace fell and how the sixth prince was instrumental in sealing the monkey demon. The villain takes a drink, wondering aloud if his brother's newfound strength came from the ancestors' inheritance. Suddenly, a soft knock comes from the door, and a gentle, feminine voice calls for the second prince. Without even turning, the prince grants entry to the person waiting outside. A woman dressed as a servant enters the room, calling his name with a worried look on her face. He recognizes her, asking what she is doing in his mansion so late at night in a servant's disguise. The young woman falls to her knees and begs for his help, claiming she and her brother are prisoners in their own home. He helps her up, saying he dislikes seeing beautiful women cry, and asks what she needs from him. She explains that she needs his help to eliminate the sixth prince, who has become dangerously powerful. A malicious smile plays on his lips as he invites her to sit and discuss their plan in more detail. Once they are seated, he dismisses the guard, telling him to leave them alone for a while. The villain then produces a medallion, explaining that with it, she can command his mother's elite assassins. The medallion's green energy glows ominously in the prince's hand as he grins with malice. A dark green smoke begins to fill the room as their vengeful plot starts to materialize. An assassin materializes from the smoke, introducing himself to the second prince and awaiting his command. The villain coolly orders the man to gather his forces and eliminate the sixth prince once and for all. The assassin nods in agreement and vanishes in a puff of green smoke, ready to carry out his deadly mission. With a wicked smile, the prince lifts the woman's chin, reminding her of the promise she made. He then whispers something in her ear that makes her face flush and her eyes fill with tears. A triumphant smirk appears on the woman's face as she thinks about the sixth prince finally being gone from her life. Elsewhere, our hero's wife is undressing, preparing for a moment of quiet relaxation. She eats a banana with a seductive gaze, clearly enjoying her peaceful day. Our protagonist, the sixth prince, is also having fun, playing a game of mahjong with the fox servant and the other demon girl. But his luck runs out and he loses the round, earning mocking glares from the fox servant and the rabbit girl. With a defeated sigh, the prince laments that he's out of money and can't play anymore. Just then, his wife appears with a victorious grin, demanding he hand over all his winnings. Annoyed, he accuses them of cheating, complaining that there's no way he could have lost so much money fairly. The rabbit girl winks at him, innocently saying they would never cheat the person who gave them a home. The prince practically spits blood in frustration upon realizing his defeat is being blamed entirely on his own bad luck. Later that night, a mysterious shadow creeps stealthily towards the sixth prince's mansion. Two guards are suddenly struck by a purple energy, left confused and unable to react. They cry out in agony as the malevolent energy envelops and attacks them without mercy. The guards collapse unconscious as an assassin emerges from the darkness with a menacing air. Without wasting a moment, the assassin smashes his fist into the mansion door, shattering it with a single, powerful blow. Through the shattered doorway, a woman in a blue dress strides into the mansion with an imposing presence. Another assassin cautions her not to underestimate the sixth prince, warning that he might have unexpected tricks. Meanwhile, our hero finally wins a round of mahjong and celebrates his victory with pure joy. He scoops up a pile of coins, thrilled to have won back the money he had previously lost. But his celebration is cut short as a female shadow emerges from the broken doorway, startling everyone. The force of an unseen attack sends the prince flying, and he cries out in despair as his coins scatter everywhere. The female assassin enters the room with a confident stance, white smoke wafting from her body. The demons are terrified by her sudden appearance, demanding to know who she is and what she wants. The woman advances silently, looking ready to unleash chaos right then and there. She launches a swift high kick at the protagonist, but he narrowly manages to dodge the attack. Her kick slams into the floor, sending up a cloud of dust and demonstrating her incredible power. The hero's wife seizes the opening, attacking the assassin from behind with her purple energy spear. The woman in blue simply catches the spear with her bare hand, stopping the attack with shocking ease. The rabbit girl joins the fray, attempting to strike the assassin with her candy skewer. But the woman effortlessly grabs her leg, neutralizing the attack and showcasing her superior skill. With a quick, powerful motion, she flings the rabbit girl directly into our hero's wife. The injured rabbit girl realizes with a shock that this assassin is also a master of martial arts. The woman praises the girl's insight, looking down on her with an air of cold superiority. Just then, our hero appears behind her, holding his flaming sword to her neck. She scoffs, telling him it doesn't matter if he guesses who sent her, because he is destined to fall here today. Suddenly, a dark energy strikes the protagonist from behind, catching him completely off guard. The fox servant screams in terror, watching helplessly as her master is ambushed by the evil energy. The assassin laughs cruelly, explaining that he's been poisoned and the venom is now spreading through his body. But a confident smile spreads across the prince's face as he replies, "If it were anything else, I'd be in real trouble." He reveals that just last night, he learned a special method for neutralizing any kind of poison. A red aura envelops him as he prepares to demonstrate his newfound ability to the shocked assassin. He summons a dark spirit which effortlessly sucks all the poison out of his body. The shadowy spirit seems to relish the taste of the poison, devouring the woman's malevolent energy. The female assassin is stunned, asking if he's truly mastered the legendary technique that can cure all venoms. The male assassin tells his partner to hold the group off while he rushes to report this unexpected development. The hero's wife shouts for him not to escape, but the female assassin blocks her path. The rabbit girl attacks with her skewer, but the woman moves with blinding speed, ready for combat. She lunges forward with her claws extended, preparing for a fierce close-quarters battle with the rabbit girl. With a precise strike, she lands a heavy blow, sending the rabbit girl flying from the impact. The protagonist draws his flaming sword once again, preparing to rejoin the intense fight. He brings his sword down on the woman, but she manages to block the flaming blade with her bare hands. The assassin is shocked, wondering how he managed to shatter her protective energy barrier. The prince hands the captured woman over to his allies, telling them to get information out of her before he ends this. Meanwhile, the other assassin reaches a secret chamber and kneels before a mysterious figure. The figure is aghast to learn the poison was cured, demanding to know how the prince also mastered that forbidden technique. Sporting a new look, the hero's wife uses her pink energy to interrogate the defeated assassin on the floor. He screams in agony as she attacks him with a dark energy, calling her a monster from the ghost tribe. With a cold, merciless expression, the young woman shows she will have no pity for her captive. She finishes the man with one final, devastating blow, making the other servant think how lucky he is to be on her side. The protagonist approaches, teasingly reminding her that he asked her to restrain the guy, not destroy him. Embarrassed, his wife explains that she might have used a little too much force during the interrogation. The prince and his servant exchange a nervous glance. He thinks she ever turns into a full-fledged villain, they're all doomed. Later, alone in his room, he decides to explore the new functions of his AI system. The screen displays details about his sword, which can grow stronger by absorbing the energy of his foes. Next, he reviews his current stats, including spiritual power, vitality, and other combat abilities. The system has also unlocked a pill shop and a technique store for him to utilize in future battles. He notices no new missions are available, but his weapon has gained some very useful new attributes. Seeing his coin balance is at 0, he asks the little system bird how he can earn some gold. The bird explains that coins can be acquired by defeating monsters or by completing system-generated missions. The prince realizes that to truly understand the system's potential, he needs to focus on completing the main quests. He reflects on how his presence has altered the original story, making it impossible to predict what comes next. Outside, an important official arrives at the sixth prince's mansion, flanked by 2 guards. With an air of arrogance, he commands the servant to announce his arrival to the young prince at once. But before the servant can even speak, the official snaps at him to shut his mouth. The man then spots our hero fishing peacefully in the garden and thinks, "There you are." With dark circles under his eyes, the prince complains that he's been trying to fish for 2 hours with no luck. The official approaches with a smirk, mocking his bad luck and offering to have some fish sent over. The protagonist politely declines, then asks for the real reason for his visit, knowing it's not just a social call. A sinister smile spreads across the official's face as he reveals the king has sent him to summon the prince and his wife. The young prince stands, wondering if his father's sudden call is related to the destruction of the palace. Suddenly, he feels a sharp tug on his fishing line and realizes he's finally caught something. A triumphant grin appears on his face as he reels in a giant fish, celebrating the successful mission. The couple then makes their way to the royal palace, preparing to meet the emperor, the prince's father. He thinks to himself that this is the first time he'll meet his original body's father and hopes his secret isn't exposed. In the grand throne room, the emperor sits with a stern and imposing expression on his face. With a thoughtful gaze, the ruler appears to be contemplating the kingdom's recent turmoil. 2 guards mutter to each other, one wondering why the king is making them stand and wait for so long. With firm steps, the couple ascends the palace stairs, steeling themselves for the royal audience. Their arrival is announced, and they enter the throne room to finally present themselves before the emperor. The king stares them down with a mysterious gaze, seeming to scrutinize every detail about the sixth prince. Our hero feels the heavy tension in the air and braces himself for whatever is about to happen. The emperor finally speaks, asking if it's true that he assisted the elder in sealing the monkey demon. The prince humbly explains that the monkey was already weakened, and he was simply fortunate enough to help contain it. The king reminds him that he was born with a constitution unable to cultivate, directly questioning his current power. Our hero tenses up, realizing the emperor is deeply suspicious and wants the complete truth. With his excuse already prepared, the prince explains that his wife used a secret recipe from the ghost tribe to heal him. The scene flashes back to him telling her this would be their cover story if his father ever asked. The emperor gives him a long, suspicious look but seems to accept the explanation, at least for the moment. He thinks how much the boy resembles his mother, her reflection momentarily appearing in the king's eye. The emperor then abruptly changes the subject, announcing the sex selection tournament in 3 days. A servant presents 2 medallions as the king explains the winner could even become a coveted inner disciple. Suddenly, a counselor stands up, declaring that the sixth prince is a malevolent presence who should not be allowed to participate. The emperor's voice is calm but laced with menace as he asks why the counselor would say such a thing. The man bows low, accusing the prince of brutally assaulting and gravely injuring his grandson at the palace. Our hero rolls his eyes, thinking to himself that this counselor is a master of spinning sob stories. Another official chimes in, adding that the prince's wife is a half-human, half-ghost abomination. Furious, the king roars for everyone to be silent, stating that his decision is final and will not be changed. The counselor thanks the emperor for promising to help his grandson recover from his supposed injuries. The man on the ground grinds his teeth in rage, resentful of the king's sudden attention toward this son. Outside, 2 other conspirators decide they must handle the situation before it spirals out of control. One of them looks to the sky with a determined glint in his eye, clearly plotting against the young prince. He remarks that he thought the girl would have disappeared by now, admitting he completely underestimated her. The scene then shifts to a full moon night, with clouds drifting across the kingdom's sky. At his mansion, the counselor meets with an assassin to go over their wicked plans. With a grim expression, the man entrusts the mission to the assassin, stressing that failure is not an option. On a quiet night, surrounded by glowing lanterns, our protagonist's story continues. He is deep in meditation, a dark energy swirling around him as he prepares for an important task. His wife approaches, asking what he's doing out here alone in the dead of night. With a warm smile, he explains he's just warming up to help her cultivate her meridians. He gives her a gentle warning to brace herself, as this time the process might be quite painful. Later, he presents her with a book of techniques to help her grow even stronger. She takes the book, recognizing it as the ancestor's technique, and asks if he won't be using it himself. He explains that he already wields the power of the dragon, making this particular dark technique unsuitable for him. Her heart warms at his thoughtfulness. She reflects that no one has ever treated her with such kindness. He then announces he has another gift, as a vibrant purple energy begins to glow in his hands. The prince summons the ancestor's scythe, explaining that since its master is gone, the weapon is now ownerless. His wife is stunned, asking if he truly managed to obtain the ancestor's inheritance from the palace. He reassures her, telling her that time in their special training space moves slowly, giving her ample time to practice. Filled with determination, the young woman declares she will train hard enough to surpass her husband's strength. She then discovers the technique requires dual cultivation, meaning she needs his help to practice it. The little system bird explains that he can now transfer his own cultivation energy to assist her. He asks if he'll lose his own power, but the bird clarifies that her energy will, in turn, protect him. Lying on the floor, his wife announces that she is ready and waits for him to begin the training. With a mischievous grin, the prince moves closer, preparing for their dual cultivation session. The scene grows more intimate as the two are enveloped in a swirling pink energy during their training. The white-haired young woman announces she has reached the second level of the technique and needs his help to advance further. With a firm stance, she prepares for the next stage of training, looking confident about the task ahead. The prince warns her that the second level is much more difficult, and he'll need to use the dragon's power to help her break through. Looking a bit nervous but still determined, his wife nods and says she's ready to begin. He then unleashes his power, and she feels a massive surge of energy flood into her body. The scene symbolically shows a red dragon gliding through water, representing the energy flowing between them. Overwhelmed by the intense energy, she groans and calls out her husband's name during the training. A majestic white dragon with golden accents appears, symbolizing the pure power he is transferring to her. With her face flushed in embarrassment, she calls him husband, clearly enjoying his assistance. The young woman's legs tremble from the sheer intensity of the energy, and she braces herself to stay upright. With an expression of pure bliss, she cries out that the energy in her body is reaching its absolute peak. She feels the overwhelming force, seemingly struggling slightly with so much power being channeled into her at once. She writhes in a mixture of pleasure and pain as her husband's energy completely fills her. After the session, she celebrates joyfully, exclaiming that she successfully broke through to the second level. He embraces her from behind, telling her she still needs to train hard, and she agrees shyly. To acclimate to her newfound power, the woman sits and begins to meditate, surrounded by a red aura. Suddenly, a golden sphere materializes on her chest, and she looks down in surprise, wondering what it is. The prince explains it's a gift. The dragon's power will make her technique even more potent. She stands up, full of determination, and declares that at tomorrow's tournament, she won't be holding back against anyone. He then leans in and gives her a soft kiss on the cheek, leaving the young woman completely flustered. She snaps at him, flustered, but the prince just smiles and wishes her good luck in the tournament. The scene then transitions to the venue for the Grand Selection Tournament, which is about to kick off. One of the counselors taunts his rival, remarking that without his grandson, the man's family has no one left in the competition. With his arms crossed, the insulted man simply thinks to himself that his rival is nothing but a cunning old fox. The announcer officially begins the tournament, explaining the first test is to measure each participant's cultivation level. He calls up the first contestant, a young man from a noble family, to test his power on the crystal. Next, a young woman approaches the crystal with confident steps, ready to demonstrate her strength. She places her hand on it, revealing she's at the first level of cultivation, which surprises the crowd. One of the nobles remarks that he's shocked a girl from a minor family branch could be so powerful. The announcer then calls for the next participant, a red-haired young man who radiates confidence. The crowd murmurs that he is exceptionally talented and a strong contender to win this year's tournament. The counselor from before boasts that with his nephew now in the running, certain people are in for a disappointment. The red-haired young man approaches the crystal and touches it with a smirk of superiority. The crystal erupts in a brilliant light, revealing the young man's astounding level of power to all. The audience gasps in shock. He's at the third level, a full stage higher than anyone expected. With a proud look, the young man steps back, and the announcer calls the next competitor. He calls out the name of our hero, the Sixth Prince, and the redhead deliberately bumps his shoulder as a provocation. The rival glares at him, sneering that he didn't expect a coward like him to actually show up. With a sly grin, the protagonist retorts, "There are many things you wouldn't expect." Enraged, the redhead calls him trash and vows to see what he's really made of during the competition. Our hero approaches the crystal and, with a powerful punch, unleashes all of his energy at once. The crystal flares with an intense light, revealing that he, too, has reached the third level of cultivation. With a victorious smirk, he taunts his rival, whose face twists in fury at the prince's audacity. A woman with white hair and black streaks observes from the stands, finding the development very interesting. Two young women whisper to each other that the prince has become incredibly strong and his mother would be so proud. Another woman thinks to herself that the boy she's been watching has finally proven his worth to everyone. The announcer then calls the first match of the tournament, the young woman from before against the red-haired rival. With an arrogant sneer, the redhead asks if she seriously thinks she can win, suggesting she should just forfeit now. Her eyes flashing with fury, the young woman readies herself for battle, determined to prove him wrong. She leaps into action, charging toward him with her twin swords at the ready. Her blades glow with a blue energy as she launches a swift and precise strike in his direction. The young man dodges the attack by a hair's breadth, and she thinks how close she came to landing a hit. Her sword slams into the arena floor, cracking the stone and showcasing the power behind her attack. He immediately counters with his flaming sword, unleashing a wave of fire directly at her. A confident smirk on his face, the red-haired rival prepares another attack to assert his dominance. He uses a light-based technique, firing multiple blasts of red energy at his opponent. With no way to defend herself, the young woman is hit directly and forced to surrender to avoid serious injury. The announcer declares the red-haired young man the winner, and he struts out of the arena with an air of superiority. Furious over her defeat, the young woman glares at him with hatred as she's helped off the floor. The two counselors comment that her strength was lacking and that the young man showed her no mercy. The counselor thinks to himself that the girl's defeat is irrelevant, as his real champion has yet to fight. The woman with white and black streaked hair steps into the arena, fixing our hero with a serious gaze. The protagonist is slightly taken aback by her presence, wondering who this woman could be. Is she that girl's sister? He wonders in shock, confused by how different they look. Where do you think you're looking? She snaps, threatening to gouge his eyes out if he doesn't stop staring. She then unleashes a blast of blue energy that unexpectedly smacks the prince right in the face. Two men in the crowd chuckle, remarking that the sixth prince clearly didn't know her attacks were long-ranged. The hero's wife sighs in despair, thinking her husband is a lost cause after that embarrassing display. A pink-haired girl explains to her that her sister is a specialist in long-distance combat. The prince complains to his system about getting slapped, but the little bird retorts that it was his own fault. The woman glares at him, saying that if this is the extent of his power, she's going to be very disappointed. The announcer signals the start of the match, and the two competitors prepare for battle. With astonishing speed, our hero uses his ghost steps technique to close the distance instantly. He unleashes a flurry of rapid punches, and his opponent is stunned by his incredible speed. The protagonist explains that his fusion with the sword has made his body far more resilient than before. He continues his assault, hammering away at her energy shield until it shatters with remarkable ease. The woman is shocked to see her barrier destroyed so quickly and is sent flying backward. She thinks that since she's also a martial artist, his physical attacks shouldn't have been so damaging. The crowd murmurs in shock, saying the sixth prince was too harsh, basically turning her into a punching bag. Lying on the ground, the young woman glares up at the prince, her eyes filled with disbelief at what just happened. With a fresh bruise under her eye, the woman uses a fan to hide her face, clearly seething with anger. She furiously yells that her face is ruined and she refuses to continue the fight after such a humiliation. The announcer declares our hero the winner, and he mocks the woman for giving up so easily. The two counselors are livid, thinking that the champions they backed have all turned out to be completely useless. The protagonist walks over to the fallen woman, who flinches and asks what more he wants from her. In a swift motion, he grabs her chin, making it seem like he's about to do something aggressive. But instead, he just gives her cheek two gentle pats, a gesture that only adds to her humiliation. However, his pats miraculously heal her bruised face, leaving the woman utterly astonished. She stares at her reflection in a small mirror, asking in shock what kind of healing technique he just used. He claims it's his own creation, though he thinks to himself it was actually a reward from his mission system. The red-haired rival watches from a distance, acknowledging that the protagonist's strength has grown immensely. The tournament proceeds, and the next match is announced: our hero versus his red-haired rival. With an arrogant smirk, the rival warns him that there's still time to surrender and save himself the embarrassment of losing. The protagonist knows his body can't take a direct hit from his opponent's powerful attacks without getting injured. The rival charges forward, his body glowing with a bluish energy as he prepares a mighty blow. Gripping his sword, our hero braces himself to defend against the full-force attack. He activates his Thousand Blades technique, creating multiple golden energy seals for protection. Their swords collide with a deafening clang, sending a shower of sparks across the combat arena. Suddenly, glowing golden chains erupt and around the red-haired rival's sword, shocking him. He yells out in surprise, having no idea what these chains are or where they came from. The chains violently yank him into the air, leaving him dangling upside down with no way to break free. Helplessly suspended, the young man shouts in disbelief, asking what kind of insane technique has captured him. Our hero then rushes forward with his sword, preparing to deliver the final blow of the match. He strikes with a powerful slash of golden energy, and the red-haired rival is hit squarely by the attack. The impact sends him hurtling across the arena as the chains dissolve, releasing him from their grip. Furious, he swears he will destroy the protagonist, vowing he won't leave the arena alive. The rival thinks that if his opponent had been using a higher quality sword, the fight would already be over. With a bead of sweat tracing a path down his face, the rival appears to be in a dire situation. The protagonist notices his opponent consumes something and stays on high alert for what's coming next. The rival thinks that the pill his grandfather gave him has boosted his power, and now victory is within his grasp. A fiery aura surrounds our hero as he feels the murderous intent radiating from his opponent. The rival then dashes forward with incredible speed, his eyes now glowing a menacing red. Their swords clash once more, the impact sending another shower of sparks across the arena. The red-haired rival's blow creates a massive explosion of blue energy, showcasing his new level of power. With his sword glowing crimson, he attacks the protagonist with overwhelming fury and strength. He unleashes a wave of white energy, a blow that strikes our hero directly in the arena. Lying in the dust, the prince appears to have been defeated by his rival's devastating attack. But with a small cut on his forehead, he blinks, already recovering from the powerful hit he took. The rival gloats over his apparent victory, asking if he finally understands the gap in their power. But the protagonist just spits on the ground, getting ready to prove this fight is far from over. With a confident smirk, the prince asks, "So, is the power difference clear to you now?" The redhead is flabbergasted, demanding to know how he's still standing after such a powerful hit. Enraged, he charges again, screaming that a piece of trash like the protagonist should know his place. But the prince casually blocks the rival's sword with his bare hand, leaving him utterly stunned. The protagonist then activates a system card, freezing time in the arena for a few precious seconds. The rival is caught, frozen in midair and completely unable to move, as our hero prepares his next move. With time stopped, the prince says, "Now this is the true difference in power between us." He then cloaks his hand in a dark energy, preparing to land a decisive blow. The prince strikes his rival with the energy, explaining that it will seal off his ability to use his power. As time resumes, the redhead collapses to the ground, defeated and bewildered by what just happened. The audience is confused, wondering how the protagonist defeated his opponent so quickly. His wife remarks that it all happened in the blink of an eye. One moment they were fighting, the next a dagger was in his chest. Kneeling and wounded, the rival thinks he can't believe he lost to someone he held in such contempt. Unable to accept his defeat, he struggles to his feet and lunges for one last, desperate attack. "Stop!" The emperor's voice booms across the arena, ordering him to stand down immediately. The king glares at him with a serious expression, saying he saw every cheap trick the young man used during the fight. The protagonist realizes the rival was just a pawn used by his grandfather in a malicious scheme. The emperor announces he will pardon the counselor and orders the young man's body to be brought to him. The old man bows deeply, thanking the king for his mercy after all that has transpired. Our hero is left confused, wondering if the emperor somehow found out about his system and its powerful cards. The emperor rises from his throne and confronts the counselor about how he raises his own grandson. In a panic, the old man throws himself from the royal balcony, begging for the king's forgiveness and claiming ignorance. The emperor accuses him of being too old and cunning not to have noticed his grandson was using forbidden pills. The counselor continues to plead his innocence, swearing he had no part in his grandson's dishonest actions. The scene flashes back to the man promising the boy he would forgive his mother's past transgressions. In another flashback, the young man apologizes to his mother for failing to keep his promise to her. Back in the present, the rival takes full responsibility, claiming he took the pill out of a desperate desire to win. He then begs the king to forgive his grandfather, insisting that the fault in the competition was his alone. Another flashback shows the grandfather banishing the boy from their home for wanting to bring his mother back. The boy's mother tells him he must train hard so his grandfather won't cast him out too, leaving him heartbroken. Two nobles murmur that the king never cared for the sixth prince before, yet now he's defending him so fiercely. The protagonist's wife approaches him, asking if he's alright to continue with the next match. He reassures her, saying his spot in the tournament doesn't matter, and he'll gladly forfeit if she wishes. Gently patting her head, he shows that her well-being is far more important to him than any victory. A mysterious hooded figure watches this tender moment from afar with a grim, unreadable expression. Annoyed, she refuses his offer of charity, insisting she doesn't need it, and they will fight as equals. The hooded man then produces a venomous centipede, preparing to interfere with their upcoming match. He launches the creature with a blast of purple energy, sending it flying towards our hero in the arena. The protagonist's wife spots the attack and is horrified to see the centipede streaking towards him. Without a second thought, she throws herself in front of him, taking the hit from the creature to protect him. With a look of alarm, the protagonist moves to protect his wife from this sudden attack. He pushes her out of the way, yelling for her to watch out for the poison headed straight for them. The young woman is confused by his sudden action, not understanding what is happening in the arena. The prince pulls her away, and she asks what got into him to do something so drastic out of nowhere. He explains that he saw the hooded man launch something at them, and was trying to shield her from the attack. She scans the area and says there's nobody there, asking if he's starting to see things. The protagonist is suspicious, but his doubts are cut short as his wife suddenly collapses in front of him. She screams in agony as a fiery energy engulfs her, desperately calling out his name. He catches her in his arms and cries out her name, terrified by what is happening to her. The system announces a new critical mission: save her life. If he fails, he will also perish. He frantically tries to transfer his energy to her but finds that he can't, sending him into a panic. A furious realization dawns on him: the hooded man is the one responsible for all of this. He yells for his father, the emperor, and runs towards him, begging for help to save his wife. The royal physician examines her, and the prince anxiously asks about his beloved wife's condition. The man gravely explains that she's been struck by a rare poison. In 3 days, she will not survive. The protagonist is stunned. The cult that uses this poison wasn't supposed to appear in the story for years. The emperor rises his face a mask of fury, declaring he will not tolerate such schemes in his domain. With a powerful aura of fire, he prepares to unleash his full power and resolve the situation. The queen and the protagonist watch in awe as the king summons a legendary spiritual treasure. With golden rings glowing on his fingers, the emperor prepares to use his immense power to save the young woman. The hooded man screams in agony as he feels the emperor's power seizing control of him from across the arena. Radiating a fiery aura, the king manipulates the man like a marionette, demonstrating his absolute power. Against his will, the hooded man begins to walk, unable to resist the emperor's overwhelming control. With slow, forced steps, he is compelled to approach the protagonist, unable to stop. The young prince, still holding his wife, asks what is happening to the mysterious man. As a servant explains that the king is using one of his unique abilities to control the villain's body. The protagonist is deeply impressed by the king's domineering power and his complete command of the situation. The hooded man stops directly in front of our hero, glaring at him with a look of pure hatred. "You should not be alive," he snarls, revealing his true motive for being there. Furious, the protagonist grabs him, demanding that he hand over the antidote to save his wife. The man can only groan in pain, unable to speak as the prince's hands tighten around his throat. Our hero lifts him off the ground, his eyes burning with rage as he continues to demand the antidote. The physician steps in, informing him that the man has no vital signs left and can no longer help. From his throne, the emperor observes the scene as the doctor confirms the hooded man's demise. The king watches everything in silence, while the queen beside him appears to be scheming. Another noble steps forward, accusing the sixth prince of killing the man to silence him. He claims the prince despises his granddaughter and conspired with the villain to have her poisoned. The noble kneels, accusing the protagonist of treason and declaring that he harbors evil in his heart. The prince defends himself, arguing that if he had planned something, he wouldn't have done it in front of everyone. The crowd's sentiment turns, and they begin to join in, accusing him of murdering the hooded man. A woman with pink hair watches the unfolding drama with tears in her eyes, looking deeply concerned. The emperor rises and tells a servant to accompany him for a closer look at the scene in the arena. The protagonist realizes this is all an elaborate setup targeting both him and his wife. He reflects that in the original story, his character would have been long gone by now. Everything has changed. A defiant smile crosses his face as he thinks, if it's a fight they want, it's a fight they'll get. The prince then turns to the king, firmly stating he neither killed the man nor allied with him. The noble immediately accuses him of lying, claiming that everyone saw him attack the hooded man. The protagonist challenges the noble to have the body examined to see who truly delivered the final blow. Enraged by the implication, the old man tears out a chunk of his own beard in a fit of fury. The queen attempts to calm her father, reminding him that the king is present and will make the right judgment. Our hero thinks that the noble's impatience is making it obvious that he's the one behind the scheme. The royal physician then approaches to examine the body and give his official findings. He explains the poison is from the same cult, and with the attacker gone, fighting a cure will be extremely difficult. The noble throws himself at the poisoned girl's side, weeping dramatically for his granddaughter in a grand performance. The prince rolls his eyes, thinking the old man is a fantastic actor who is fooling almost everyone. Suddenly, the emperor's voice booms. "Do you all take me for an idiot?" He lifts the corpse, revealing that the man's internal organs have been rotten for a very long time. The king explains that the body itself was riddled with the same poison, which was the true cause of his passing. With a furious glare, the emperor turns to the noble and asks if he has anything to say in his defense. Desperate, the man falls to his knees, claiming this was not his intention and begging for the king's forgiveness. The emperor declares that with this cult operating right under his nose, he can no longer let it slide. The queen tries to defend her father, claiming he didn't mean to frame the sixth prince on purpose. With a sharp gesture, the king silences her, stating that his decision on the matter is absolute. He then tasks the noble with investigating the cult's infiltration, giving him 1 month to produce results. The protagonist recalls that this cult is led by 4 incredibly powerful evil gods. He concludes the emperor already suspected the noble, which is why he assigned him this impossible mission. Elder Hoa approaches, remarking that the play they all just witnessed was quite entertaining. With a graceful smile, she introduces herself to the king, greeting him with formal respect. The emperor is surprised, asking what the esteemed elder of the sect is doing at his tournament. She announces that she has come with the intention of recruiting the sixth prince as her direct disciple. The queen and the noble are utterly shocked by this news, unable to believe what they've just heard. The king is thrilled with the offer, saying it would be a tremendous honor for the royal family. However, the prince declines the offer, explaining he must stay to care for his wife, who is poisoned and in grave danger. Furious, the emperor reprimands him, saying he is bringing shame upon their family by refusing such an honor. The queen observes, realizing the king is desperate for the sixth prince to join the powerful sect. The protagonist wonders why his father is so insistent, suspecting it might have something to do with his other brother. Elder Ho then places a hand on his shoulder and makes him an offer he simply cannot refuse. She promises that if he becomes her disciple, she can cure the poison afflicting his wife. The woman reveals she possesses a spiritual spring that can sustain his wife's life until a permanent cure is found. Without a moment's hesitation, the young man drops to his knees, calls her master, and accepts the proposal. The emperor concludes the tournament, instructing our hero to take his wife and Elder Hua to the sect. Elsewhere, a man pays 2 gravediggers to bury a body with instructions to never return. Suddenly, a bizarre purple worm burrows out of the freshly disturbed earth. Moments later, a hand bursts from the grave and a body rises from the dirt, terrifying the 2 gravediggers. They stare in shock, unable to believe their eyes as the man they just buried stands before them. The risen man is the red-haired rival, now a zombie-like creature with glowing crimson eyes. Screams of terror fill the forest as the undead creature mercilessly attacks the 2 gravediggers. The scene then shifts to Elder Hua's sect, a breathtaking place filled with magnificent structures. Our hero walks with his new master and his wife across a serene bridge over a pond of water lilies. The elder explains that this is her personal peak and that he now has full access to all of its resources. The prince feels incredibly lucky, thinking he's been handed a master on a silver platter. He then asks why she chose him as her disciple, and she praises him, calling him a promising talent. A skeptical smile plays on his lips. While she's not wrong, he can't shake the feeling that there's more to it. They arrive at a waterfall, where the elder reveals the location of her peak's special spiritual spring. She explains her plan to use the spring to cleanse the young woman's meridians, halting the poison's progression. With an eager smile, the young man agrees, ready to follow his master's instructions. With a firm step, Elder Hua approaches the spring, preparing to begin the healing ritual. The protagonist carefully lowers his wife into the spring's water so the healing can begin. The young woman rests peacefully in the water as her husband watches over her with a worried expression. He then turns to his master and asks what else he needs to do to help save his wife. The master tells him to head down the mountain, assuring him she'll let him know when the cleansing is complete. She then changes the prince's wife into a new set of clothes, remarking on how well developed the girl is. Now in a new dress, the woman floats magically above the water, ready for the ritual to begin. Elder Hua performs a spirit attraction technique, drawing the spring's potent energy into the young woman's body. A dark, murky energy begins to seep out of the protagonist's wife as she is purified. But the master is shocked when she senses a powerful, ancient dark energy originating from deep within the poisoned girl. The prince reappears with an awkward smile, admitting that explaining that energy would be a very long story. The dark energy suddenly intensifies, and the young woman, the water, begins to writhe in a mix of pain and pleasure. She cries out from the conflicting sensations as the malevolent energy seems to try and overwhelm her. The master realizes this dark energy is actively repelling her own power and spits up a mouthful of blood from the strain. Seeing the dire situation, the protagonist decides to intervene, using his own energy to help save her. The young woman floats serenely in the water as her husband's energy completely envelops her. The system announces that her remaining lifespan has been extended to 5 days, and he sighs in relief. He asks if his master is alright, and she explains the conflicting energies caused a backlash and she needs to rest. With a serious expression, the elder says his wife's condition is stable for now and asks to speak with him privately. The scene shifts to a beautiful pavilion where the two sit down to talk alone. The master correctly deduces that he cleared the 3rd level of the palace and obtained the ancestor's technique. She strongly advises him to keep his powers a secret from everyone, warning that his brother might try to harm him. The woman hands him a flute, instructing him to travel to a specific mountain and find a certain person. She explains that this person is the only one who can truly cure the poison, and he asks why she won't go herself. She smacks him with her fan, tells him she's busy, and sends him flying off the pavilion. The scene cuts to the master's private chambers, where sunlight streams through the window. Sitting on the floor, Elder Hua meditates, a blue aura surrounding her as she attempts to heal her internal injuries. Suddenly, she cries out and coughs up blood, revealing her condition is far more severe than she let on. She realizes the poison in her own body has been reactivated, and the situation is becoming critical. With blood trickling from her mouth, the woman is clearly in immense pain and in desperate need of help. She prays that her new disciple can bring back the person who can heal her as quickly as possible. Elsewhere, the queen is berating her son, the second prince, calling him incompetent for acting on his own. She screams at him for sending assassins without a proper plan or understanding of the situation. The second prince calls out, "Mother," his expression a mix of fear and surprise at her fury. "Silence," the queen roars, scolding him for not being as capable as his older brother. She banishes him from her chambers, telling him his presence is irritating and she can't bear to look at him. A look of pure hatred flashes across the young man's face as he grinds his teeth, sick of the constant comparisons. He thinks that his mother only cares about his brother, and that this is all the sixth prince's fault. Our hero arrives at a bustling port, where a ticket master announces that passage on the ship requires a ticket. He asks for the price, and the man states it's 500 silver coins, no discounts. The prince realizes that in his rush to leave, he completely forgot to bring any money for the journey. The man laughs and says he knows a way for him to earn the money he needs for the fair. He points toward a nearby auction house, suggesting the prince could sell something valuable there. The protagonist uses his system to retrieve an item, and the auctioneer's eyes go wide with shock at what he sees. The auctioneer agrees to host the sale but informs him he'll take a 30% commission from the final price. Relieved to have found a solution, the prince clasps his hands to his head and readily agrees to the terms. Half an hour later, in a grand hall filled with wealthy bidders, the auction is set to begin. A beautiful auctioneer in a red dress welcomes the guests and announces the first item up for bidding. A young noble in the audience scoffs at the item, saying he's only here for the second lot of the night. The woman then unveils our hero's fire sphere, officially starting the auction for the rare item. A wave of shock ripples through the crowd as they wonder who would be willing to auction such a precious treasure. The woman confirms it is a genuine fire sphere, explaining its immense value to fire attribute cultivators. With a smile and a playful wink, she announces a starting bid of 1 million coins. The protagonist is stunned, realizing the item he casually pulled from his system is far more valuable than he imagined. The bidding war kicks off immediately, with multiple people shouting out increasingly higher offers for the rare fire sphere. Suddenly, a hooded figure bids 3 million coins, silencing the hall with the staggering amount. The crowd murmurs in surprise, with one person noting that the bidder must be a powerful fire cultivator. The woman begins her final countdown as no one else seems willing to challenge the massive bid. With a sharp crack of the gavel, she declares the fire sphere sold, concluding the auction for that item. The prince is more than satisfied with the outcome, now having more than enough money for his journey. Suddenly, the system issues a new mission: rescue an enslaved mermaid. The protagonist is surprised by the unexpected quest and turns his attention back to the stage. A hand pulls back the stage curtain, preparing to reveal the next item up for auction. The woman announces that the second item of the night is a beautiful mermaid, captured just recently. The auctioneer explains that the mermaid's tears crystallize into pearls and her blood emits a rare, alluring fragrance. The crowd buzzes with excitement, one man remarking how thrilling it would be to own a real mermaid. The young noble from before declares that he fancies the mermaid and will have her at any cost. The announcer sets the starting bid for the mermaid at a staggering 800,000 gold coins. The bidding starts fiercely, with several wealthy patrons shouting out increasingly high offers. The young noble then bids 2 million coins, looking utterly determined to win the mermaid. The audience murmurs at his presence, whispering that the mermaid will surely meet a terrible fate in his hands. Our hero then joins the bidding, offering 210,000 more than the noble's bid. Furious, the noble demands to know who dares to compete with him, ordering them to reveal themselves. With a mocking smile, the protagonist tells him to stop talking and just raise the bid if he can. The noble increases his offer to 250,000, and our hero instantly counters it. With an ironic smirk, he says that if the noble can't afford it, he had no business bidding in the first place. A servant leans in and whispers to the noble, reminding they only brought 250,000 coins. The noble angrily strikes his servant, ordering him to go find more money immediately. It then dawns on the furious noble that his personal funds were frozen after a recent incident. He glares at our hero with pure hatred, swearing to get revenge for this public humiliation. Fuming, the noble and his servants storm out of the auction, leaving the path clear for the protagonist. The woman brings down the gavel, congratulating our hero on his successful purchase of the mermaid. The system announces the mission is complete and rewards him with a valuable invisibility pill. He walks to the stage and, with a single touch, shatters the glass tank, freeing the mermaid from her prison. Freed from her tank, the mermaid screams as she plummets toward the unforgiving floor. In a flash of blue light, her tail magically transforms into legs, giving her a human-like form. The protagonist catches her in his arms, gently asking if she's alright after the ordeal. He leans in closer and comments on her pleasant scent, which only frightens the terrified young woman. She shoves him away, screaming for him to stay back and making it clear she doesn't trust him. The mermaid snatches a shard of broken glass from the floor, preparing to defend herself. With tears streaming down her face, she threatens the prince, warning him not to come any closer. He holds up his hands in a gesture of peace, assuring her he means no harm and she is free to go. Clutching the glass shard, the young woman asks skeptically if he's telling the truth. With a kind smile, he replies that a gentleman never lies and she can trust his word. She thinks to herself that humans can't be trusted and decides her best chance is to escape immediately. But just then, the noble's guards appear, surrounding her and telling her she's not going anywhere. The mermaid is terrified as the guards point their swords at her, unsure of what to do. Our hero sees the danger and immediately steps in to protect the young woman from the noble's men. He pulls her close, shielding her as the men advance ready to attack. With a powerful leap, he throws himself into the fray, ready to show them his true strength. The protagonist unleashes his golden energy, blasting the men with an overwhelming wave of power. The guards are thrown to the ground, defeated, their swords scattered by the force of the blow. The young noble from before reappears, clapping and praising the prince's skill with a malicious smile. The protagonist recognizes him and becomes enraged, realizing the noble was behind this ambush all along. The noble declares that he was the first person to ever dare outbid him, and for that, he has prepared something special. The protagonist looks utterly exasperated, thinking he just wanted a peaceful evening after the auction. The mermaid glances between them, wondering if she can trust the prince and contemplating an escape while they're distracted. Out on the street, the noble and his guards have the couple surrounded, demanding the immediate surrender of the mermaid. The prince scoffs at him, retorting that since he couldn't win her at the auction, he's now trying to steal her in the street. Enraged, the noble orders his guards to attack and eliminate the protagonist without mercy. The men charge forward with swords drawn, descending on the couple with bloodthirsty intent. The protagonist effortlessly lifts off the ground, holding the mermaid in his arms as he faces down the guards. Protected by a powerful energy barrier, he tells them they are not qualified to challenge him. With a single sweeping gesture, he launches multiple blasts of blue energy, defeating all the men at once. One of the guards warns the noble that the prince is far too strong, and they are no match for him. Furious, the noble kicks one of his fallen men, calling them useless trash for being so weak. The scene focuses on the approaching feat of a mysterious man who offers the noble some advice. The man suggests unleashing his prized beast from the fighting arena, a creature that has never lost a battle. The noble eagerly agrees and orders the beast to be released from its cage to destroy the protagonist. A giant red-skinned demon bursts from its cage, letting out a roar of impressive fury and power. The creature immediately charges and attacks the noble's own guards, who are terrified by the beast's strength. One of them screams for the demon to stop, yelling that it's attacking the wrong people. The demon effortlessly tosses the guards aside, defeating them with incredible ease. The protagonist mocks the noble, asking if this idiot beast is supposed to be his champion. The demon roars and charges directly toward the couple with overwhelming fury and power. "Watch out!" the mermaid yells, pushing the prince aside to protect him from the attack. The demon lands with a devastating impact, shattering the ground and sending them both flying. The protagonist is surprised, realizing that the demon's primary target wasn't him after all. The creature turns its attention to the mermaid, staring her down with a hungry, menacing gaze. Terrified, the young woman screams for it to stay away and scrambles backward as fast as she can. The demon reaches out to grab her, and the mermaid cries in fear, seeing no path of escape. Suddenly, the massive demon collapses to the ground unconscious, leaving our hero utterly bewildered. The noble and his men are equally stunned, wondering what could have possibly happened to their prized beast. The mermaid then rises to her feet, surrounded by a blue aura, her demeanor transformed into something far more powerful. She confidently steps onto the chest of the fallen demon, looking down at it with a cold, superior air. With a sword of pure water in her hand, she asks why it didn't listen when she told it not to approach. The protagonist recognizes this from the original story. This is the mermaid princess of the Sea Clan. He recalls that she has a dual personality because she swallowed a divine pearl as a child. The prince remembers that in the original plot, she became a formidable villain and an aid to the original protagonist. He thinks with concern about how she eventually became a powerful ally to the story's hero. He's relieved that he has the chance to save her now, before she is forced down that dark path. The sea princess then turns her attention to the noble, advancing with her water sword in uncontrollable rage. The mysterious man screams for the noble to stop her, and the two brace for the coming fight. With her eyes glowing a brilliant blue, the mermaid reveals her true, powerful form to everyone present. With a single precise strike, the mermaid dispatches the mysterious man, leaving him defeated on the ground. The noble's servant urges him to flee, but the fallen man seems to have no strength left to even move. Terrified, the noble pleads with her to stay back, threatening that his father will not forgive this. She ignores his threat and raises her sword to strike, but the protagonist yells for her to wait. The noble tries to defend himself with his sword, but the sea princess is far too fast and strikes him first. Her water sword slashes him deeply, and the villain screams in agony from the wound. Our hero then grabs the mermaid from behind, preventing her from delivering the final blow to the fallen noble. He holds her back, telling her that now is not the right time to finish him off. The prince notices her sword is coated in poison, realizing the situation has just become much more complicated. He sees that the noble has already vanished, thinking that his father must be incredibly protective and powerful. The scene shifts to the noble's mansion where his father, the city master, is training with his guards. He defeats them all effortlessly as a man praises him, noting he's much stronger than his brother. The noble comments on his father's increased strength, saying the guards are no match for his power. Suddenly, a servant bursts in, shouting for the city master with a look of pure desperation. He presents a shattered medallion, announcing that the young master's life plate has broken. Enraged, the man grabs the servant, demanding to know who is responsible for what happened to his son. The servant stammers, revealing that the one to blame for everything was the sixth prince of the neighboring kingdom. The city master is stunned by the news, unable to process what he has just heard. With a look of pure hatred, he screams our hero's name, swearing vengeance for his loss. He then hurls the servant to the ground, his fury knowing no bounds after the shocking revelation. His eyes burning with hatred, the city master vows he will make the prince pay for the loss of his son. The scene then cuts to the floating ship, where our hero has finally embarked on his journey. On board, the prince seems to be feeling unwell and lets out an embarrassed sneeze. With the mermaid resting peacefully beside him, he chuckles, appearing to enjoy the voyage despite his motion sickness.